Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Mastiff Media and Up the Middle's election coverage 2024. You know me. Actually, there's some of you who might not know me. A special welcome to KSHP in Las Vegas. We were supposed to start with them on Friday, but with some technical and logistical issues, we missed out on that. You missed out on that because we had a great show Friday. We went over predictions. We're going to see how we did tonight and hopefully get most of those results by the time we log off at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Also joining us tonight, Philip Blackett will be in. Blake Fisher will be in. A couple other people calling in, checking in. If you want to call in, the new phone system is operational, tested, working. And if only I had something, there we go, to put up on the screen for you. 1-888-88 Yergs. We'll be taking phone calls later on tonight, not right away. We've got, you might see, I don't know if it's all that, really not all that clear that you can see in the background. ABC is on the top television over my right shoulder, and Brian Tyler Cohen is on the Apple computer right below that. We've also got a bunch of different screens here in front of me where we're going to be tabulating everything that's coming in automatically, all sorts of alerts, sources, you name it. We're going to figure things out. And hopefully by the end of the night, everybody's going to figure things out. Let's bring on... actually, just also brought on, welcome to everybody at WTAN and WDCF right here in the Tampa Bay area. Also WWPR, WDJY in Atlanta. They are all of our sponsors for tonight. All the stations that support Up the Middle are donating the time tonight that we're providing the coverage for. So we want to thank all of them because you wouldn't be informed this way from a balanced and impartial, well, I mean, it's sort of impartial. We've got one guy coming up next who is anything but. He is our resident Trump supporter and is going to be with us in this first hour. Welcome back, Philip Blackett. Hey, man.
Good evening. What's going on?
Well, a lot going on, and right now it's actually looking good for your side of the house. Some of the early exit polls and results coming in are in Donald Trump's favor. I'm told by ABC that is mostly because some of the rural areas are smaller counties, smaller regions, and as such, it's a little easier to count, whereas urban areas are much more populated, and that's going to be a while.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I'm just pleased to be here with you. I'm coming from as you can tell from the background, I'm coming from the dark MAGA lair. So everything around me is dark except me.
Location. An undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location, absolutely.
Yeah, that was Dick Cheney's old thing. Anytime anything was going on, he was at the undisclosed location in a mountain.
I will say this is not a basement, though, at least.
I'm no longer in a garage.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
It's definitely an upgrade from last time.
Yeah. Well, the garage is better air conditioned. I can say that.
Okay.
It's just more spacious. Everything's more comfortable. I've got more room in the garage now. That's basically me and the bedroom, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is still under construction. You can see that used to be bottom cabinets. That's my kitchen cabinet.
I thought it was a little bar or something. They got a little man cave going on here.
No, this is what used to be my living room.
Oh, wow.
and I don't know if you can tell that's what it is, but there is over my right shoulder there. That's a shower curtain from the bathroom. That's right on the other side of that shower curtain.
Oh, okay.
What's hanging there, and reason for that is obviously, like I said, there's a bathroom there, and my son's old bedroom. Okay. All those doors are gone.
Wow.
They're gone. They're not even outside anymore. They've been picked up, carried out, and no longer with us. So once we complete the mold treatment, I think it's pretty much done. But once we complete the mold treatment, we'll get new doors.
Okay.
I don't even know what the floor plan is going to look like because I'm not remodeling this to be my house.
Okay.
I'm actually building up
The second floor, right?
and, yeah, to a second and third floor, and hopefully even someday a fourth. Yeah, making the
Moving on up.
home studio commercial space, and this will be. I really shouldn't say because this is not livable space anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Once I build up, so party space, storage space, whatever. But I mean, even the county is like kind of giving me the wink and the nod. We know you're going to do something with it, kind of attitude, and
No.
probably will. I just have to recognize it's not insurable,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a living space. So how about you? You voted, I take it.
I did vote it early, so
Oh, okay.
definitely didn't want to get caught up in the day of. I'm a converted Republican as far as I'm fine doing early. Still had
Yeah,
to wait a little bit. Waited about an hour, but still, just got it out the way so I can just rest at home with my fidget spinner and watch results and have a drink at hand and get ready for the night.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to be getting a drink soon. I think I get allergies too, so sometimes this cough comes and goes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if it is because of the mold that had been here.
That would
Uh,
be a concern. We definitely
yeah,
want to make sure that that is not the case. And if it is, we need to get some sort of remediation quickly.
yeah. My dad's an experienced contractor, and he was with me all last week, and he's done insurance claims and what has to happen for stuff like that. He is kind of the opinion that we're going to be ripping out the top portions of the drywall too eventually,
Mm-hmm.
and just getting rid of everything as far as mold goes.
Okay.
If it's not, if chances are it's not up there in the top parts of the wall, I would actually rather wait.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put every amount of money that I get from the insurance company on building up and not wasting anything on this level.
No, okay.
If he's concerned that there really is mold here,
Mm-hmm.
we'll do a few walls and like in the rougher areas, like my son's room was the wettest because it's in the middle. It's got the least amount of air coming
Mm,
through, and we all had carpet in our bedroom, which will never be on this floor again.
right.
The three things I said, the three things that'll never be on this floor: drywall, carpet, and wood.
Mm-hmm.
The only three things I'll need to clean this out the next time this floods are a hose,
Mm-hmm.
a push broom,
Mm-hmm.
and a mop.
Mm-hmm. That's
That's it.
good.
Be done. So anyway, yeah, I love voting because I walked right down the street to our association building,
Mm-hmm.
show my driver's license, my Florida driver's license, and have at it and in and out. It's great. Our association building is actually a polling place
Okay.
for Pasco County, and yeah, it's quite convenient. So yeah, well, we'll be here for the next 3 hours or so. I
Mm-hmm.
guess a little less than 3 hours by now, but till about 11 o'clock p.m. Again, we want to thank all of the terrestrial stations within the Mastiff Media Network, that being the newest one, KSHP, which will actually not be joining us till later. The KSHP in Los Angeles, WDJY in Atlanta, the Tan Talk Network in Tampa Bay, it's WTAN and WDCF, and also WWPR, our very first terrestrial station, and kind of like our AM home down in Bradenton, also in the Tampa Bay. You can find all those stations online. You can find us on Yerg's Radio. I can put that. You can find us on Yerg's Radio at yergsradio.com. There it is above Philip, yergsradio.com. We also have video feed. I'll put that in the group chat. It's a direct feed for the video that you can get anytime Yerg's Radio is live. It's in the chat right now. Just keep that, bookmark that. There's a player that our station puts out for that. There's a notification that comes out when we're not live, and you try to click on it. Anytime you want to join, there you go. I'm getting comments that are on another that are in French.
You've gone global, Yergs.
Yeah. The downside to that, though, it's been probably about 30 years since I've spoken French.
Oh.
So here is, I gotta, there. Here is a map that we're going to be using tonight. Let me get rid of the phone number so it's not blocking anything. There's a map of what we're going to be using tonight. Now, some of that is actually already colored in, and we'll get that caught up in the next couple of minutes. But what happens with that is, unlike the past week, the map that we've been using for the past week, where there were different shades of red and different shades of blue to describe the degree to which a state is leaning in favor of one party or another. This is either red or blue. That's it. And I think right now we've got Vermont was already called for Kamala Harris, West Virginia, Kentucky, and I think Tennessee. Let's see, where's he at? One of my sources is showing 95 electoral votes for Donald Trump to 35 for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I'm watching Fox. So they got,
early, but
yeah, I'm watching Fox, and they got Harris at 72, Trump at 105 so far.
Okay.
They call it Florida for Trump. They're talking right now. Massachusetts.
Is it just early? Yeah. Because right now, and again, early, but according to this national map, I wish I could share this. I'm looking at it on my phone. But according to this national map, Kansas is blue and Ohio is blue. But this particular platform does still use the shading.
Oh, okay.
In part because it's early. There's also a clock on it that I'm not going to color that because it's, like I said, we don't have that option on this particular map tonight. But they're showing Kansas blue and Ohio blue, but they're both a very light blue, and that clock is not very filled in. It's just a percentage of the 360 degrees, and actually Ohio is almost halfway. That's interesting. But
yeah, it looks like we go about 28% in on Ohio so far from my end.
They're calling Maryland there. Connecticut there.
But Ross, you're the host here, and this is your party. I'm just an attendee of it. So whichever one you want to go off of, that's what we'll go off of.
I'll be looking at a bunch throughout the night. And Maine has some interior districts, so we'll look at that separately. New Jersey's another one.
Mm-hmm.
New York, surprisingly, not in yet. That was also supposedly going to be going rather easily.
Got to keep the suspense going on.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's kind of annoying is this particular map has called Florida already.
Yep. Fox called Florida for Trump and for Scott for Senate.
Okay, what was how close was it with Scott and Powell?
Uh, they just showed it. I'm waiting for it to come back again. It was probably like a few 100,000.
Which actually, for the total amount of Florida, is actually pretty sizable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking. It looks like Delaware and parts of New England on this map on my phone are so small that. So here's another one that's interesting. Um, Georgia. I think they're commercial. Oh, actually, Brian Tyler Cohen's got it up right now. There was the show behind me is a really progressive guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, wait a minute, that can't be. He's not going to say anything like that. He's got like 85 to 15, but it's one particular county that is very Democratic.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but Georgia, Trump has been leading in Georgia all night, and that's because I think we talked about that a moment ago. The the rural counties are considerably smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Places like Savannah and Atlanta and suburban Atlanta, so they're not going to take near as long to count,
Right.
and they've been closed for coming up on an hour and a half now. So it's easier for them to get uh, votes in, and we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that for in both directions all night. One candidate's going to have a considerable lead,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to deteriorate because other precincts and other parts of that state are going to be checking in later. And I guess it would be predominantly in Trump's favor, and then possibly losing that lead as the night goes on. Once some of the bigger cities conclude counting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what have you been hearing? Are, you're obviously a published author,
Mm-hmm.
and what was it? Harvard or Yale?
Harvard.
Harvard grad. You're not shy. You get out. You talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
What are you hearing about what's on everyone's mind? Like, what seems to be the biggest issue,
Mm-hmm.
and where at are you hearing that?
So I think a lot of it, when it comes to like the top issues, it's pretty straightforward. Economy and immigration. Abortion's more of a distant third, from what I'm hearing. I think part of the thing is you were talking about Georgia earlier, Ross. I'm just seeing from what I've been following with Fox. They did like a survey of like 120,000 people across the country, talking about all these different issues and that sort. Um, what they showed in Georgia, in particular, they highlighted was Harris is not doing well with regard to the black population compared to Biden 4 years ago.
Why
There
do
was,
you think that is?
I think, well, I mean, they definitely talked about, over the course of the election, more black men like myself uh, favoring Trump, being on the Republican side and the sort. But I think it was like she lost like 9 percentage points of black men, and it might be like six or so from black women. So I think the black women one might be more of a surprise, so to speak, because Biden carried like 95% 4 years ago, and now it's like closer to like high 80s. Um, and so I don't know. I think part of it is a sense that, you know, I like to take a bit for myself. Like you compare the two, um, we had 4 years of Trump. Um, A lot of people have good memories of that, whether it was lower unemployment, higher wages, more jobs, more money in your pocket, lower inflation. Um, and this is kind of an unknown as far as who Kamala is. Um, and yeah, I think it might have been the sense of just saying, hey, I've had 4 years of Biden, 4 years of Trump. You might have some people that feel more courageous, so to speak, to say, "Hey, I'm gonna buck the historic trend and go with what's better for me." And so you might have not significant change over, but enough that people are starting to talk about it.
You had mentioned. Sorry, I'm getting text messages. I'm getting all kinds of. Uh, you had mentioned Kamala's record,
Mm-hmm.
that she doesn't have necessarily a lot to go on, which was not what the Trump campaign has been blaming her for.
Mm-hmm.
The memes are, she's going to fix something that she had 3.5 years to fix.
Right.
My argument there is that he had 4 years to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Of 1,954 miles, he got 458 miles,
Mm-hmm.
and it fell over. That's not very successful.
Well, yeah. Not to mention the fact that had he won in 2020, he probably would have finished that wall. But even more so once Biden and Harris came in, I'm not sure exactly the exact count of how many executive actions they put into place to reverse um, the border wall once they came into office, but it was pretty significant. But yeah, it's definitely a unfinished project that it would be helpful to finish, especially given how much more crucial immigration as an issue has been now than say 4 years ago.
So, with immigration, with the wall, border security, why are we not talking about building a wall across Canada if this is not a racially uh, divided or racially charged issue?
I think it's a good question. I guess the question comes up as how much of a priority do we need a wall near Canada in terms of people coming in and out? What do we currently have in place near the Canadian border? Whether that's doing a better job than what we have at the southern border. Um, and it seems like it's more of an issue on the southern border that we got to get plugged in or plugged up versus the Canadian border. Um, that's what it comes off to me. Like I don't know too much about what we have in place already at the Canadian border. It just seems like more of our issue, more of our problems are coming from down south than up north.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the other. CNN is way far behind. And for listeners of different stations, like I said before, we are looking at other news outlets in addition to some of our own people at various locations, especially Matt Deemer running for Congress in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see discrepancies. We're going to tabulate things as late as possible, but as soon as possible,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that you hear so often Fox News is saying such and such state for such and such candidate.
Yeah, like for example, they called DC, Illinois for Harris already
Okay.
because her total number is at 72. Um,
But these are also kind of givens
oh yeah, yeah.
that we knew West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. There's no surprise there.
Like they haven't called New Hampshire yet. They say it's too close to call yet,
Right.
but you know it'll all
Okay.
work itself out at some point tonight.
Um, yeah, New Hampshire isn't finished on here either. I should take that off. It's light blue on here,
Mm-hmm.
and so Ohio has just gone red on this map.
Okay.
That was blue earlier, so that's a potential change. Next poll's closing. Oh, what did I just do?
Was it 8:30 or at 9?
Next polls are closing right now.
Okay.
So we've got 8:30. It's probably 7:30 in Central is what's closing.
Mm-hmm.
But CNN just said, as I just said that they got a next polls close soon, clock ticking down, and that was it. In the Senate, I know Bernie Sanders won in Vermont.
Yep.
What was that one? They're looking at Jim Justice as the likely winner in West Virginia.
Yep. Fox called on that one.
And that would go from Democrat to Republican.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Florida. Are you kidding me?
What do you say?
Here is. Are you seeing that now?
Yep.
There we go. Colin Allred in Texas is maintaining a lead with 40% in.
I guess Ted was serious about what he was saying, but yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really competitive race.
A lot of support from the party, did he?
I heard McConnell was not a huge supporter.
Yeah. And ironically, Allred got something like a total of $60,000.
Oh, really?
From Chuck Schumer and the Democratic Party. And apparently there was a famous reaction to that. They saw the 60,000. Oh, now Ted Cruz just went ahead. Did you see that?
Yeah, I just saw it. I was like, was that you or was that the website?
No, I just because I was that block, that pop-up screen is there because I'm hovering over top of it.
Gotcha.
But he is that just went ahead that way. Sherrod Brown, those 3 points are pretty sizable over Bernie Moreno.
Yep. It's nearly 100,000. Yeah.
Angus King, an independent incumbent. Looks like he's going to take that. 2 independents running in Maine that are big enough to be on the ticket. They're big enough to be on the display. Sheldon Whitehouse is going to claim a victory in Rhode Island. Chris Murphy in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Warren, that's no surprise there. In Massachusetts. We called Bernie. Well, Andy Kim. Okay, so this is, I think, the race that is replacing. I'm brain farting on it now. The corruption guy, the Democratic guy that was busted for the second time for corruption.
Ooh,
remember the deal with Egypt? You know who I'm talking about? Bob Menendez.
Yep.
I think that's his seat.
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, Bob Casey. Wow. Oh, it's only 7%.
7%.
Okay. Wow.
It's the same thing shown for president. So it's just like, hey, 7%.
Yeah, slow down.
Fox did call Arkansas, so that should probably show up for Trump soon on the site.
Yeah, another one that's no surprise either.
Right.
And
let's see. Fox is
map is showing it as well.
Fox is calling Connecticut, DC, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and it just came off. So I think there was one DC. I think do you have it on there? On yours?
DC is on here. Yeah, and they called it on this other map already too.
Mm-hmm.
But that again, I mean, I don't remember in my lifetime if they've ever had a Republican mayor. What others? I mean, I think probably I got to say Louisiana is probably not too early.
Yeah, because the tally for Fox right now is 72 Harris, 111 Trump so far.
Okay, that's probably, well, there's that.
And Virginia is about 37% in of the vote so far.
Indiana. I'm missing 10 points, you're saying?
Indiana, I think they call for Trump.
Yeah. And again, that wasn't a. Is that the. I wish they. I wish they would all have like their big spread.
Mm-hmm.
Now New York is only closing at 9. I didn't realize they were that late.
Oh, okay. So not too far off.
What is? I missed it. I was going to see what was the final in Florida, because there was a lot of indication that might be closer than.
Does it show up on the CNN site? Or if you hover
Um,
over it?
just yeah, there we go. Wow, 55, almost 56 to 43.
Yep. 5.7 to 4.4 million.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be a little closer than that.
Scott is at 56. McCurcell Powell at 43. 5.6 million to 4.3 million.
Are they calling North Carolina for?
No.
Because CNN has that blue.
North Carolina, looks like Virginia, they have blue.
CNN has it blue as well.
Because I'm looking at your site, North Carolina looks gray still.
Oh no, on wow, do I need to refresh that?
Yeah, it's showing North Carolina. Oh, okay. Well,
Now it's red.
so it's, I guess that's leaning red or something.
So they're not calling that. They're just, that's just where results are coming in from.
Got you.
Because North Carolina is blue.
So if it's like solid, is that CNN calling it? If it's like solid blue or solid red?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, everybody's doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, 9 o'clock, that's where a whole bunch of states was. 2,
Yeah.
4, 6, 7, 15 states.
And that's why nobody's made any call on New York yet, because they're still open.
Yep. That makes sense. Let's see.
Louisiana must still be open too, because they're not even having any.
Yeah, I would bet they probably are ones to close at 9 o'clock as well.
I like the. Prefer the maps. Fox is using like an extra large bottom third.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put up states for states that aren't even closed yet. That makes no sense. Like the entire row is useless because they're all at 0%.
So I'm seeing like Michigan, like 5 to 7% coming in. I'm like, have they closed yet though? I thought they were at 9 o'clock.
I'm not seeing it yet either. It must not be because I'm watching as it's going. I'm figuring out. I'm figuring out that Fox is showing that ticker that I told you about in alphabetical order,
Mm-hmm.
but Michigan just went right past Michigan,
Yep.
and I guess they have. I guess they're having the later ones in alphabetical order in like a second phase or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I could never get Fox News. I just that's the way I'm wired, I guess. Um, ABC is calling Maryland for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I think Fox might have called Maryland too.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Michigan, ABC just showed Michigan. She's got a sizable lead in Michigan.
How much percentage? I think it's like 5%.
It was ABC's got a screen up. I'm not allowed to show any of the feeds of a direct broadcast from any of the other networks.
Oh,
I
okay.
can show statistics of what they put out as far as like percentage. Like New Jersey, she's got 55 to 43.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina, she's behind 52 to 46.
Okay.
That's common knowledge now. It's public domain, but the
Yep.
actual broadcast itself
That makes
belongs
sense.
to the network, so I can't play that. Oklahoma, yeah, we got that one.
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, she's cleaning up, but it's also very early.
So, what would that be? Is that early voting
Um,
you're going through right there?
I don't think Pennsylvania starts early voting tablet until tonight.
Oh, okay. Because they're
Uh,
showing Pennsylvania now on Fox,
yeah,
11%. They are showing Philadelphia, Pittsburgh areas being counted, Harrisburg.
yeah, and those are the ones that are actually going to take longer.
Yeah,
Those three plus Allentown and Reading.
because you would have. I guess I initially thought when I looked at Pennsylvania, like, oh, like the first part of it's early voting, but no, it sounds like that's not the case. Because like that would probably make sense why it's such a huge lead so far.
So Robert Kennedy is still on the ballot in Kansas. That
Yeah,
was one of the lawsuits, I guess, that he lost when
yeah.
he tried to get himself taken off. Kamala, CNN showing that with about a third of the vote, 29%, Kamala
Yeah,
Harris has 52 to 46 lead in Kansas.
that's weird. Yeah,
I
RFK
get
is not even making a difference. He's less than 1% there.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Illinois, we knew. That's still too close. This was Senate. So what do they got? 2 points like that
Yep,
with
55%.
55% in. That's some in a Senate race. That's actually some stability.
Oh,
That 2 points is going to be tough to come back from with 55% in.
Yeah, because that's at least 110,000 votes right there.
Yeah. But I mean, 3.26 to 3.14. That's a race.
Mm-hmm. You can check on the Florida one too.
So it's the dark gray that's got somebody running. The light gray.
Oh, okay. The light gray is nothing.
Yeah, they called Rick Scott.
86%.
Yeah, that's that. And that 86% is actually in the panhandle,
Okay.
which has a later closing time.
Hmm.
Nothing throughout the rest of the Atlantic coast or the South Atlantic coast. Um, that's probably why with only 4%, but still, that's I don't see him being unseated in Mississippi.
Right.
Ugh. I'm just not a fan of Josh Hawley.
Oh, really? Why not?
He is that smug prick. And the thing about that is, if he knew what he was talking about, I could stomach it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen in like YouTube clips of like C-SPAN or whatever where he's just put on his face. I'm like, dude, learn from that.
I know what you're talking about.
You're a United States senator. Stop trying to be, the Howard Stern of Congress and get something done.
Especially when he like gets on his high horse in the hearings.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
he knows the camera's on him.
And they actually say that too. If they ask you a question and then they keep blabbing on about whatever other stats or whatever for that question, and you try to answer it, they cut you off and say, "No, this is my time."
Yep.
I'm like,
I always
I'm
wondered,
sorry.
like
Did you
would they?
just ask me a question? Am I a flower pot? What am I here for?
I always wonder, would they ask questions the same way and talk to one another the same way if they knew it wasn't being recorded or televised?
Oh yeah, this is another one to watch. Tester and Sheehy in Montana,
Yep.
and okay, they got them all that way. All right. I was wondering why are they putting the incumbent on the bottom, but they're doing all the Democrats on top, and
I guess alphabetical, maybe.
no, they're doing all Democrats on top and all Republicans on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Garvey in California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never would have known he was a Republican, but I
Mm.
guess San Diego is where he's at, and that's a very Republican city, so it does make sense.
Now we got purple.
Oh wow! I just accidentally clicked on that, and Kirsten Gillibrand in New York. We can have fun with that too. I'm liking this one. Boom. There you go.
Yeah.
So that explains that. And I've got to say,
Topeka, Manhattan. Yep.
Lawrence, Manhattan, Kansas, that's going to be a tough spread to maintain once these boondock counties start
Start
kicking in.
coloring in. Yep.
Yeah. And how do I get out of that? There we go. Okay. I'm learning it. I'm learning it. What does that do? What was that button? Nothing. Map options.
Oh, the ballot measures. Is that able to tell us like amendments for states?
Where do you see that? Oh, this one? Yeah.
Yeah. Florida.
Yeah. I mean, that's been all over the news the whole time down here.
What is it showing? I can't see because of that follow a race box on
Yeah.
top. Because they have to get 60%. I heard right.
That I
Oh,
don't know.
buddy, I heard you have to get 60% for it to go into effect. So they're like hovering right at it with
Yeah.
57. And then marijuana, what do we got down below? Oh, buddy, this is close.
Florida legalizing marijuana.
They got
So
to get
if
60% for
what
it to
you
take
say
effect.
is true, if they got to get 60%,
Yep.
I see what they're saying. I see what they're okay.
Oh, so they're
They got,
projecting no on marijuana.
because right there's that check mark there. Exactly.
I guess because there's
I'm just
enough
saying. I'm
enough
just
votes
saying
there.
it's this projected winner.
Right.
Florida legalized recreational marijuana. Yes, is 55.7%,
But you have to get the
but the check mark
60%
is by
for it to,
no because
they don't think it's going to go below 40% for no.
right. Yeah.
Well, that'd be helpful.
Minimum wage also on the ballot in Alaska, Arizona, and California.
Yeah, this is nice.
Voting rights, Alaska, repeal ranked choice voting. I would actually like to see that, frankly.
Really?
Yeah. Arizona. There was something like that in Florida for school boards.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we
Their
got that.
primaries.
Mm-hmm. I guess because there's like a right arrow on there too, so you can scroll to the right and see where it says for Florida. They got the same thing for the state Supreme Court races. I know we had a number of those questions that go on it.
Yeah. Yeah, when I saw I am almost retired for more years at 53 years of age as of this
Uh-huh.
past Friday. I am almost retired for more years than Justice Francis of this Florida Supreme Court has been on the bench at all. Don't tell me she's some legal prodigy. That is Ron DeSantis at his finest.
Yeah, it looks like if you click on the right arrow, you can go see more of those measures for each one of those categories. Let's see. Recognize the
Did I do that right?
ones. Oh, so you clicked on the actual proposition.
Yeah.
If you go back, let's see. Let's see. Scroll up.
Oh. See all results in California. Is that just for Proposition 3?
Yeah, that's just for Proposition 3. So if you go back to ballot measures, you'll be able to I think I saw like a right arrow. You can scroll to the right for more of the measures in each category. So like an example for the
That one there?
yep.
Yeah. There's Maryland. Missouri, Montana, Nebraska.
Call these.
Wait. Nebraska ran abortion after the first trimester, and also a blank constitutional right to abortion.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So can you actually have it where you say don't ban abortion at the first trimester and then go against the constitutional right for an abortion.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you can do it if you
Wouldn't
were
make
allowed
sense.
to do it.
Yeah. Nevada, New York, South Dakota. Wow. All right, so let's go. So 1, 2, 3 with Nevada. Nebraska, there's 2 for Nebraska, so we'll just say 4 for Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Montana's 5. Missouri and Maryland is 6 and 7.
Missouri might win it. There's Florida.
Uh, Florida is 8, and that's not called yet.
Nope.
Colorado is 9. 10 states. And again, that's 60%.
It's a high threshold. It looks like, geez,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean that's more permanent than just
It's in the
blanket.
constitutional amendment, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it would make sense to do beyond a simple majority. And if you go down to marijuana, we could see how many are doing with that question. Then also the political parties you were talking about as far as in the school board. I think there's a couple categories down. We can scroll to the right,
Yeah.
see what that looks like for Florida, and see if.
All right. Here's marijuana. Florida, and it's going to be a no. I guess some of my neighbors will remain employed then.
Cleaner air to walk through. I appreciate it.
Selling there. See, that was a big misconception about that. You cannot do it in public.
See, I wish they were educating people. That might have made a difference.
Well, there were some ads saying that, but it was by the pro marijuana people.
Mm-hmm.
So there was pretty underhanded how the anti.
Because the anti definitely emphasized that they say, "Hey, well, in your parks,
Yeah, and it's not true.
Recreational facilities, like all
and
this is, oh no,
and
restaurants."
now you're wondering why there's some certain factions that are supportive of censorship
Mm-hmm.
because they lied to block a constitutional amendment.
Mm-hmm. Lying is bad.
North Dakota. So we got Florida, North Dakota, South Dakota, and that's it for dope.
All right, so the voting rights one, I think you might see Florida on that one for the required partisan primaries for the school board.
5 states for minimum wage.
Mm.
3, Massachusetts, California, Arizona, and Alaska. Let's see, voting rights. Alaska again, Arizona, partisan primaries. Alaska is repealing ranked choice voting. Colorado, implement ranked choice voting. Connecticut, allow no excuse absentee voting. Yeah, California, I could have a mail-in ballot if I wanted one. That was it.
Mm.
District of Columbia, implement ranked choice voting. Idaho, require U.S. citizen to vote. So apparently that's a state where you don't have to be a U.S. citizen. You can vote. I know it's not in a federal election.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a U.S. citizen to vote in a federal election. That was another thing that had a lot of misconceptions. Idaho, implement ranked choice voting. Iowa, require U.S. citizenship.
Well, Kentucky looks like they won on that one.
To require U.S. citizenship to vote. Missouri is almost 63% saying yes. Nevada, implement ranked choice voting. Require an ID to vote. North Carolina, winner in favor of requiring a U.S. citizenship to vote.
WTAN Clearwater
FM 106.1,
WDCF Dade City
FM 102.3.
Listen.
That was supposed to happen right now. It was actually a little early, but that's the that jumps in the station ID. Okay, what else we got? North Carolina is a yes for requiring U.S. citizenship. Ohio establish a citizen-led redistrict. Oh, that's key. Matt was telling us about that.
So that's basically saying that, hey, if you're going to do any redistricting, it's going to be of your own citizens on that commission then?
Yeah, it's less politically biased, or at least an attempt. Also, that's pretty hands down there. Almost 82% in Ohio in favor of being a U.S. citizenship. Oklahoma, same thing with 82%. Oregon considering implementing ranked choice voting. South Dakota, 86%.
Oh, South Carolina, yeah.
Or South Carolina, sorry. South Dakota's coming up with established two open primary elections.
Two of them. How does that work?
Yeah. That's why I think, I'm all for states' rights, but there's some certain things that need to be consistent across the board.
Like, here's a question I got for you.
The voting process is one of them. Go ahead.
Here's a question I got for you. Okay, all the mishaps we've had with 2020 as far as like getting voting counted in a timely fashion. Didn't last like days, if not weeks, of validating that sort. Here's my thing. It's a national election for national offices, right?
Right.
Why don't we have all the states have the same process, the same machines to elect a national office?
Yep.
Like, if it's state election only, hey, do what you want. But when every 4 years or so, you say, hey, president, vice president's coming up. We've been through this whole thing back in 2020. This is how we're doing it across the board, every state, when you're doing this national office.
Yeah, I say the same thing for the actual procedure itself. Like, some states have primaries, other states have caucuses.
Mm-hmm.
That is still a federal election. Even though it's for your state, it's still a federal election. Caucuses are so outdated. I mean, people want to get rid of the Electoral College. Let's get rid of caucuses first.
Yep. All right, top of the hour. Got some more states starting to roll through.
South Dakota. I got to look into that. I have no idea what that is. And then lastly, Wisconsin, also requiring U.S. citizenship.
All right, so top of the hour, Fox is updating the tally. 113 for Harris, 178 for Trump. They just called Texas in for Trump.
Okay. So Fox News saying Texas for Trump.
Say Iowa, they haven't called yet. Wisconsin, they haven't called yet. Michigan, they haven't called yet.
I am apparently
Nebraska, they call for Trump.
Nebraska, an independent, is going to beat the Republican incumbent for Senate.
Oh, wow.
That's key.
Flip.
Yeah.
So now we're back to even.
Love is going to.
They called New York for Harris.
Right. Cruz is starting to pull away, and they still say it's too soon to call. That's pretty solid then.
They call
Klobuchar's.
Colorado for Harris.
Okay, let's go to that map then. The 270.
Yep. So they
So
call.
what do you got? Colorado, you said for Harris.
Yep. Colorado for Harris.
Texas for Trump.
Texas for Trump. Yep.
What else did you get? New York,
New
you said?
York. New York, they call for Harris. Louisiana, they call for Trump.
Oh.
Kansas, they call for Trump.
Oh, so he came from behind there.
Yep. North Dakota, they call for
Yeah,
Trump.
we said that was going to happen.
So North Dakota and South Dakota, they call for Trump.
Also, no surprise there.
Wyoming for Trump. All right, so just checking. Nebraska, they call for Trump. Let's see what else.
What about that special?
Which one? Missouri, they call for Trump.
No, Nebraska has like districts around.
You're right. They just show the state being red, so I thought all 5 went to it. I'm sure they'll. They did call Missouri for Trump as well, but I'll see if they update Nebraska. See if there's any split votes.
I'm going to forget about it if I don't, so I'm going to put that back to toss up.
Yep. All right.
Undecided yet. We'll come back to that.
Yep.
Where are we at with
Iowa? Good question. So they didn't call the Nebraska Senate race with the independent yet. You're saying too soon to call.
Okay.
They're saying Ricketts, the Republican in Nebraska Senate, they're saying he's gonna win.
Okay.
Cruz and Ulrich too close to call.
Which I'm surprised. That's a pretty substantial lead for a Senate race.
Klobuchar, they called.
Yeah, I saw that.
Senate for Minnesota.
This is the test channel for Skyview Networks. Receiving this signal confirms that your receiver is working and locked the Skyview Networks carrier.
If you're just joining us, we are on the Mastiff Media Network. This is Up the Middle. And we're going through what we've got so far for Donald Trump. States that have been called: Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia, North and South Dakota, and Wyoming. And that brings him to 174. Some networks that you're going to find might have more. Like I said earlier, we are taking this slow. And you got something?
No, you're not too far off. Fox is saying 178 for Trump, 113 for Harris. So you're right on. You're
okay.
Right on there.
Okay. And then what else we got here is Colorado and Illinois for Vice President Harris, as well as D.C., Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts.
Oh, I think I answered Nebraska then. So it looks like 4 of Nebraska went to Trump, and then 1 for Democrats. So whatever the one is for.
Gotcha.
Yep. Now we're all on the same page.
Okay.
If you have any questions, please call the Skyview Network Operations Center at 877-503-8910.
Well, there's this one thing a story that CNN has, or actually, no, sorry, Fox has, that the pollsters are all missing something. Says political consultant. I've been saying that. And that is that, we do a Fox News poll. Let's put out the basic political spectrum. We do a Fox News poll, and they say one thing. And it's Fox. They've got at least some level of a reputable reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, baby. Where are you going? Are you going back in there? Okay. There goes the puppy. And then CNN does a similar poll that gives you opposite results. Also, not a bad reputation. which one do you believe?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, so many political consultants and whoever say the only poll that matters is the one that we're taking a look at right now.
Well, if that's the case, what am I paying you for?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Some overwhelming victories throughout Pennsylvania legislative, for the House and whatever, for Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And that's often, I don't want to say it, but that's often indicative of how things can go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what we got. Which one? We got that one up. Let's go here. You see they're running through Pennsylvania, Deluzio,
Mm-hmm.
Rhode Island. But they were going through some congressional seats and some state legislature seats that were open in Pennsylvania. And it was pretty sizable. Yeah, that's one we saw too. South Carolina, we knew that one. Why they're talking about that? This is what?
Is that the Senate?
Yeah, CNN's looking at the Senate again. Wyoming, Scott Morrow and John Barrasso. What does the they're saying there's no election?
Where?
What is that one?
I thought if you hovered over it and it didn't show anything, that there was no election for Senate. Whether it was like a dark gray or a light gray, I'm not sure exactly.
Oh, I see what I'm looking at yet. No votes yet. That's no election. The light gray.
Mm-hmm.
This one, polls are closed.
Yep.
But we have nothing in yet. That's what it's saying.
Gotcha. Okay.
So through that part of the Bible Belt, nothing going on. Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn wins again. That's not a surprise.
Nah.
Jim Banks in Indiana. Oh, Bernie Moreno pulled ahead of Sherrod Brown.
Yeah, that should be interesting to see.
That was not that was not expected, like, at all.
So Fox is projecting that New Hampshire's going Republican for governor, which would be interesting to me because my thought would be, okay, if you vote Republican for governor, wouldn't that have something to say for president coming up soon? Because they haven't called it yet, but that's interesting.
Well, that's funny you say that, because I was on a show. I was a guest on a show last night, and the guy called Virginia for Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Senate race for Virginia should be competitive too. At one point, I thought I saw the Republican candidate ahead.
Look at that; he's leading. I mean,
Yeah,
not by a whole heck of a lot, but
it's competitive.
Yeah.
Compared to, like, I think supposedly, like, he was supposed to be about like 10 points down at some point earlier.
Yeah.
And if you're like ahead with 53% of the vote count, that might spark a one alarm, two alarm fire.
Yeah. But his point being was that Virginia has a popular Republican governor,
Mm-hmm.
and he felt that was going to be an obstacle rather difficult to overcome.
The next tone will be on the right channel only.
Are they still? Is this up to date? Yeah, because it changes.
This final tone will be on both channels simultaneously.
Oh yeah, they haven't.
Because look at Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado.
Any questions? Please call the Skyview Network Operations Center at 877-503-8910.
And that's another thing that I'm seeing that I didn't think I would see.
What?
Oh, forget it. Pennsylvania and Michigan were leaning blue right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yep.
Wisconsin, until literally just a second ago, was leaning red.
Signal confirms that your receiver is
And Minnesota
Oh.
leaning red.
Yeah, that's not good.
please
Oh, that was I jinxed it.
Okay. All right. What do we want to talk about next? So there's that.
visit program level on the left.
For those just listening, we're looking at a map that's done in real time by CNN. It's not, well, actually,
The right channel only.
it's a map that does have, it's a map that does have both called states and which way they're leaning as the count goes. So, for example, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri are all dark red because CNN has called those states for former President Trump.
8910.
New Mexico, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Georgia are light red because as the count goes currently, they are in Donald Trump's favor.
This is
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin just went back to red.
receiving this signal confirmed.
So we were. I made the statement earlier that of the three remaining Great Lakes states, with the exception of New York, which we expect to go to Kamala Harris,
Wisconsin gone red.
which one did?
Wisconsin leaning
Yeah,
red.
yeah. It just as I was going back to that, it had just switched again. Yeah. I don't think the final result, and Minnesota just went blue.
On the right channel only.
This is fun. I mean, it's like whack-a-mole.
Basically, I was just thinking that.
Which state's going to change next? So, as they count these votes, they're changing from light blue to light red in pretty much real time, and
If you have
it's showing you which way. And this is on CNN.com/election/2024.
910.
And it's showing you which way that particular state is leaning at that time. And one of the things that I'm finding, rather fascinating, and now I'm understanding it a little better, Nebraska and Kansas are blue on this CNN map.
Networks
I would not expect them to be blue at the end of the night.
and lock the Skyview Networks area.
And what I don't understand about that is, and New Mexico just went blue. What I don't understand that is, it's easier to count rural votes because there are usually fewer of them
Mm-hmm.
at each individual polling place.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not as easy to bring them to a central location because of the widespread, distance between that polling place and whatever location. But it was just, it's just interesting that now Nebraska and Kansas, which have some major cities like Lincoln and Topeka,
Mm-hmm.
which could be more progressive, as well as which one did we see in Kansas? Manhattan, Topeka. Oh,
Man,
Topeka's in Kansas. What was I thinking in Nebraska? Omaha. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Omaha, Lincoln.
Fox just called Ohio for Trump.
We knew that though. That was another.
No, yeah,
Right.
It's given. So now it's 113 to 195.
Yeah.
If you have any questions,
But so point being, if it was going to do anything, it should start red.
Yep. And our comrade Blake is here. It looks like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're done with us for the night?
I think so, sir.
Are you going to hang out a little longer? What are you going to do?
I think my kids are ready to go to bed, so I think I need to talk them in.
That's a key. Yep. Let me see where I can get back to this here. Is he on there?
Yeah, he just sent a message in the chat.
Oh, there he is. Yeah. All right, man. Well, let me bring him on. You guys can say hello.
Yep, I'll say hey before I go.
Hey there. Blake Fisher from the Homeless Conservative.
There he is. What's up, Blake?
Not much. So fun start to my day. I woke up vomiting at 5 a.m.
Oh, what happened
So
there?
I've had a rough day.
Were the nerves that bad for tonight?
No, I got some sort of bug. This is a traditionally I get sick in presidential election years for some reason. 92, 96, 2000, 2004, 2008. I skipped 2012 and 2016, back on it in 2020 and 2024. So there's something really weird where I actually get a stomach bug for like 8 hours, super bad, once every 4 years. Just happen to be on election day today.
Jeez.
Is that usually when it is?
Yeah, I mean it's not it's normally in the
on election day.
No, it's normally in the winter. Like it's normally in like in the spring or winter, like January, February, March, April.
Temperature
like
changes,
literally,
things like that.
I don't know. I mean, it's always a bug. It's just the weirdest thing that I basically throw up every 4 years. So that was how my day started. And then I slept a lot, and I've tried to get better. I did go vote. I might have, spread some of the contagion. I was feeling okay at that point. I didn't go vote till this afternoon. So
yeah.
We got to do it. I didn't do the early thing, so I was like, I got to get out there.
Touching everything without the sanitizer. I see.
Entertaining too for a Republican to be wearing a mask and taking alcohol swabs with him.
Yeah, I didn't actually do any of that because I mean I could have, but I mean it's like my election place is so light. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just I'm in an area that doesn't have a lot of voter participation, or maybe they do it earlier or later or something like that. I had no line whatsoever. I was the 211th person to vote, and that was at I don't know, noon or 1 or something. So maybe I'm just in a place where not long line. So I didn't really interact with anyone. I handed one lady the ID, another lady handed me a ballot. That's the most I interacted with anyone. So
gotcha.
Yeah, when I voted, I fed my ballot into the machine.
I did that too. Yeah. Sorry, I did that too. But I don't touch the machine. You just
Yeah.
Gave it to him.
So, yeah, you just slide it in there. So anyway, so that's been my day. So I still feel pretty crummy, but obviously I took a few naps today so that I could hopefully stay up late, and which will be crap if we don't get a result tonight. But which I'm pretty sure will be the case, especially because some stuff has happened already tonight that I'm pretty sure means we're not getting a presidential result tonight. But I could be wrong.
Oh, why do you say that? What do you got? We've just
Milwaukee, Wisconsin had to start counting absentee ballots all over, and they're late anyway, and it's a swing state. So if Wisconsin matters, they're not predicting they'll even have the mail-in ballots counted till 3 a.m. So there's that. But I don't understand the exact situation. Something about the way they were counting the mail-in ballots, and one of the poll observers or whatever they are noticed like the door on the machine or something was cracked open or something. Yep. Mm-hmm. So they got together and they just decided, you know what, we should just start over. So everyone
fire out now.
And so they started over. So that was a couple hours. That was an hour and a half ago or something like that. So their projection was, and they're always late, I guess, anyway. So their projection was normally midnight to have those counted. Well, now it's like 2 or 3 a.m. So if it comes down to Wisconsin at all, which I mean, I think obviously Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania are the ones that people are really looking at as far as, but like Kamala has to kind of win all 3 of those blue wall states. I mean, there is a situation where she could win Nevada and not win one of those blue wall states, not Pennsylvania included. But so anyway, and then the other thing that happened was wait, what was it? Georgia. There's a county in Georgia that's saying similar kind of thing. They're actually doing pretty fast, but there's one county that might be kind of slow. So if it comes down to 12,000 votes like it did last time, we might be waiting on. I could see us still waiting on going to bed without knowing Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Arizona is always slow. So, but it depends if that matters or not. It's like, I think Arizona is pretty safely red, but we'll see.
Yep. We're looking at Georgia by county now.
Yeah.
There's a lot more blue than what I would have suspected.
That's pretty normal. So far, the smart people I pay attention to, because I don't know this county stuff to the level that these dorks on TV do. And that's a loving, it's not pejorative saying dorks. I mean, I'm a dork for this kind of stuff too. Yeah. But they're saying basically Trump is doing what he wanted to do, which is outperforming in rural areas. So he's doing better than he did in the rural areas in 2020. She's also doing better in the suburban areas than Biden did in Georgia specifically they were talking about. So basically they're like, it tells us nothing. If only one of them were outperforming in one of those areas, we'd go, okay, that looks bad for Kamala Harris or that looks good for Donald Trump. So far in most of the states, that seems to be holding, the swing states at least, is that Trump is doing marginally better in those rural areas than he did. So he's basically counting on running up the vote totals higher in those rural areas. I think that's a riskier play than hers because those rural counties are everywhere. And so I think it's a little harder, but
we'll concentrate it.
We'll see. I mean, exit polls, I don't pay any attention to because they're just so wrong all the time. So I really don't put a lot of stock into what they were talking about right now with, on NBC, you'll hear them talking about, well, independents are going for Trump, like way more in Pennsylvania than they were. I just don't. Exit polls have been historically wrong a lot, especially when they're looking down, trying to drill down to demographics. So they're trying to say, like, how is Trump performing with black men, or how is Harris performing with white suburban women or college age students or something. And exit polls just aren't. If you think regular polls are inaccurate, exit polls are kind of the worst. So
it's so much more random.
Yeah, but they just don't like. Claire McCaskill was on NBC and was like, well, if exit polls were accurate, then I won my Senate seat and John Kerry won in 2004. And she gave all these examples of all the exit polls showing like, for sure, and it all depends. Cause that's the problem is you have the same problem you have with normal polling is like, who's going to respond? Who's going to go up to the exit pollers and answer questions? And I think just the nature of the person that would want to do that, because like I'm one of those people. I would, if someone tried to get me, I would be like, yes, please. Like I like when pollsters call me. And, like, by the way, a point I wanted to bring up last week that I didn't, Jurgs, that I thought was interesting about the polls.
I used to call Cruz.
They did.
Fox News called Cruz.
Oh, yeah. Wait, you don't owe me a pizza on that one, right? But Florida and Texas both went, right?
Yep, they called Texas for both Trump and Ted Cruz.
What's the percentage on Cruz right now?
52% to 46%.
Yeah, so I told you that was going to be way too much to come back from.
That'll tighten up. Those numbers will tighten up because the big cities, as you mentioned, Jurgs, take longer to count because there's millions.
Do you think that Colin Allred can come back from that?
No. If they're calling, I mean, rarely do these. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happened in 2000 in a huge way. That the projections were wrong. Since 2000, it does seem like they learned their lesson. And even in 2020, when Fox wanted to call Arizona, Chris Stirewalt was there at the time. And I know he got a lot of pushback because everyone thought it was too early. And he was like, I promise you. It's like, so the smart people know there's no benefit to being first. You got to be right.
Right.
Correct.
I mean, like, obviously they want to be first too, but they certainly do not want to be wrong, especially about something like that. They would not call Texas unless they were absolutely sure Cruz was going to win.
Right. That makes sense.
And
now, I am with the final count.
I can say, Colin, I wouldn't have expected Harris to win Texas, even if Cruz lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect Allred to win either. I mean, I think that this is just like the pipe dream of winning Texas. I don't think Democrats have had a great game plan for states really in the last 10, 15 years or something like that. It seems like they're abandoning states that have huge populations like Florida. I mean, Florida is redder than it gets redder every year. So it's redder tonight than it was in 2020. Yeah,
I don't think so.
the early projection stuff says it's going to be red, and the abortion thing is the first place the abortion thing is lost. An abortion referendum has lost in the country so far.
Yeah, but we were talking about that before you came on. They have to get a 60%.
In Florida, at least, yeah.
But it's still lost. Yeah, I mean, it's still the first place that it lost.
So they're calling it the marijuana and the abortion referendums for Florida.
What did the marijuana one do in Florida? I haven't seen that.
That lost already because it stopped
lost
at like 57, was it?
Yeah, go to the ballot measures.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I am totally fine with a 60% threshold for constitutional change in the states. It makes sense to me.
See the first one here. So they put a check mark on the Florida constitutional right for abortion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Projected winner. Yeah, because I guess they're saying with 87% of the vote, they don't think it's likely that no is going to go below 40%.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, so it's
so anyway, the same thing for the marijuana right below it.
But to me, sort of the proof, like the other thing I've been interested to see in this election is does the mass exodus from places like California to states like Texas and Florida change them politically? I'm not seeing evidence that it has so far.
Right.
Yeah, There was, I think you actually pointed this out. There was a story that was done about the central corridor, basically between here in Tampa to Orlando and then east to the Space Coast and Daytona Beach and that area. This is our purple region.
Mm-hmm.
This is what can flip the state blue. And this is what people like Debbie Powell should have done a better job concentrating on by returning my phone calls, for example. Not that I'm pissed off or bitter. But
yeah, but I think Trump did better in Miami-Dade County.
He did.
Than he did in 2020. That's a big blow for Democrats.
Yeah.
If you can't get Miami-Dade, or at least
more competitive.
He won last time too, but it's getting less competitive.
Yeah.
There are less blue areas. So I think that's interesting because Florida is obviously a huge state.
Yeah, but here's more though. Tallahassee is not usually as liberal as what they're showing. And if these are conclusive, Tampa is Hillsborough County, St. Pete and Clearwater are Pinellas County. He's winning there too.
Mm-hmm.
That is unheard of.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to look back.
Those
at what
are counties won. I don't know what the numbers are, but Biden won them handedly. Something just called for him. What was it? Oh, that was probably down here. No. Where was it? It was. I'm just from Florida. Biden won both those counties easily in 2020. Mm-hmm. And what was notable about that in 2016 was that Hillary lost Pinellas County to Trump, but maintained Hillsborough. She lost the state anyway. But you're right about some of these counties. Just those larger urban counties that flip, that makes a difference. And again, why we need to keep the Electoral College.
I agree. Yeah.
Because you just hit these big urban areas.
Yeah. You can basically win the presidency with 2 states if you got rid of the Electoral College, which I'm never that worried about it. I mean, the only, because it's a constitutional change, it's not going to happen, but I am worried about it will eventually get to the Supreme Court with the states. They're trying to do the thing where they go, we're going to award our electoral votes to whoever wins the popular vote nationwide. I think that's the worst idea I've ever heard in my life, because now if I live in Colorado and Trump wins the popular vote tonight, Colorado's going red. Like that just, I don't think people will be happy with that system either. And I also just think the problem with the popular vote specifically is that it's like saying who won the football game based on how many yards they had. We don't measure football games on yards. Yards are an important thing, but it's not, no one's goal going into a football game is to have the most yards. That's not the goal. The goal is to win. And so that's the same thing here. No one really cares about winning the popular vote. They care about winning the Electoral College because that's how we pick our president. So they don't need to spend. And by the way, 7 swing states is a lot more than we had in 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012 were pretty handily won by Obama. But and certainly, it's about and obviously it ends up mattering in a handful of those. And so far, I'm not seeing anything that says that would be a great idea. I think that what you would end up with is almost immediately Democrats think they have an advantage on the popular vote all the time.
Right.
They happen to right now because of the way the electoral map works out right now, but that's not always going to be the case. This is never permanent. Like Florida was the swing state in 2000, and they're not even close to that 24 years later. And then Ohio was a swing state till just a couple election cycles ago, and now it's pretty solid red. Pennsylvania has become so. This changes all the time. So I don't think we need to. The idea that your vote counts less because you live in a different state. It's true that my vote for president doesn't matter in Oklahoma. Every county I think is going to go for Trump. So it's true that it really doesn't matter, but that doesn't bother me either. It's like, because that's not how I want to pick the president.
Right. Real quick, guys, I have to head out, but I will put it on your map. Take a look at Virginia. It looks like it's over 55% of the vote.
Yeah, she should win that, no problem.
But Trump's ahead by nearly 2.
Yeah, that should flip, though.
We'll see. And Fox News is calling New Hampshire for Harris, so that might answer.
Yeah.
So, anyways, guys, it was a pleasure. I got to turn.
Philip, thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely enjoy it. All right.
Yep. Philip Blackett, thanks for joining, man. See you again. There we go. Oh, he just left in his zone.
Yeah, and Senate stuff, so far the only thing we have is West Virginia, but we knew that was going to happen. But Marino is leading in Ohio right now.
There was one, I wanted to show you this. What was I talking about? Senate. Where was it? Is it here?
Nebraska, Fisher and Osborne? Is that what you're looking at?
No, because there was an independent.
Right, yeah, that's Dan Osborne in Nebraska, who's facing Deb Fisher, the incumbent.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one that people are watching to see if that would make a difference in the Senate makeup, obviously, but also it'd be.
Is the asterisk? Is that the incumbent? Is that what that means?
Yeah, and it would be an independent beating an incumbent, which is not. It's pretty rare. So some guys that I've talked to that run a place called independentcenter.org, I think, kind of about the kind of rise of, because we have more people in 2024 registered as independents than the other two parties. So it's obviously that people are abandoning the parties. The interesting to me is are they just voting for those parties, and it's almost like leaving the party as their protest vote, but really they just fall back in line for the most part. I think that's the case. But
why do I know him?
Dan Osborne, I'm pretty sure he's related to the football coach Osborne. I think he's his son. I could be wrong about that, but an Osborne in Nebraska, I'd be pretty shocked if it wasn't. Let's see. Hold on. U.S.
Navy veteran, industrial.
Oh no, he's not. No, he is not related to
candidate in the regular 2024. Served in the Army National Guard before working at Kellogg's Omaha plant.
Yeah. I mean, if he wins that race, that would be a big deal for a couple of reasons. Yeah. But I am still pretty skeptical that that's going to happen.
It is at Dan Osborne. I got to share this one instead. Dan Osborne is an actor.
That's not the same guy.
No, because it's Osborne. Yeah, the Senate guy does not have the E on the end.
Yeah, so only
Dan
Osborne for some reason. The vote is in there so far. So we're not. We're not there yet, and there's a lot of rural areas in Nebraska that are, I would assume, more red than they are independent or leaning Democrat.
What is the?
So that will be an interesting watch because that could change. Because right now, Republicans just have to win one more state,
Right.
which most people think that would be Montana, and I think that's a pretty safe bet at this point. But let's actually see where Montana is at. See if it has anything yet. Oh, polls don't close yet because it's west of us. So Montana will be interesting, but also, you know, Republicans are ahead in Ohio right now. Pennsylvania, I think, is going to be a tough race for the Democratic incumbent. So, I mean, Republicans could end up with like 54 seats in the Senate if they did well. I am curious to see if there will be any split ticket states, like states where a Republican senator wins but Donald Trump loses. It doesn't happen very often. So we might know more about the presidential vote based on the Senate results because, and I'm also curious to see if there's any state where more people vote for senator than they do for president, just to see like how much of there is people going like, I hate Harris and Trump and will not vote for either one of them.
Yeah, that's just hold your nose. So you're saying that with 66%, a 7-point lead for Ted Cruz is still not.
It'll tighten, but yeah, he went. I mean, the truth is like a 1 or 2 points is kind of a blowout. Not blowout, but you know, that's a safe win.
No, it's decisive.
Recounts or anything. Yeah, it's decisive. Yeah. And that's, I think he won by 3 in his last Senate race. I just think Democrats are foolish for continuing to pump hundreds of millions of dollars into Texas with no results to show from it.
They put $60,000 into.
No, that was just Schumer's PAC. But I mean, like Democrats have spent a ton of money there.
Okay.
Let's see. I mean, his campaign spent $76 million. That's not any PACs. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. This is the one that flipped, I think, right?
Yeah, most expensive Senate race in history. Oh no, sorry, most expensive Senate race in 2024. Let's see. They've see, that's not even talking about the PACs.
What do you got? You want to share a screen?
I don't know if I can. I've got too many things up. No, yeah. So there's no. I can't find what PACs spent there, but the campaigns themselves spent, $77 and $77.6 million. So over $150 million on a Texas Senate race. That okay? You're just. I'm not saying like. I'm not saying you just give up and you don't run. I realize you need to run and put money into it. It just seems like they get so much outside money from outside the state for these PACs to try to like make Texas turn blue. And to me, it just seems kind of like a grift almost. It's like, hey, give us all your money so we get paid to pretend we're going to turn Texas blue. I just think it's a waste. I think that they'd be better off spending that in winnable states, especially in a year where they're probably going to lose control of the Senate. If I'm Democrats, I would have said, we're not putting money into Texas. We're going to put it into Ohio and Montana and like all the ones that are actually close. But I'm not in charge, obviously. No one asked me. I don't think anything else has come in.
No, it's like I feel like it's slowing down.
Yeah, and I'm going to guess it's going to end up. I mean, we'll get polls closing in like 15 minutes. And should have some stuff, but yeah, we don't even. Yeah, Montana closes. Are they Mountain Time? I guess they close next. I get they close at 9 Central. I'm curious to see what North Carolina too. That's really the one where I think that there could be some sort of showing of where this is going potentially, but I don't know. So far, it's been.
You think with 63%, she can pull that off?
What? So you got 63 right now? Oh, 63 of the
according to
vote.
CNN,
Okay.
63% of the vote in, 52 to
So far, I've
47.
not seen anything that looks promising for her in North Carolina. But like,
There's a big county.
yeah, big one that's not in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at my map that I predicted, which I think I'm sure will be wrong because I didn't want to make predictions for this race.
Huh.
But I had Trump winning North Carolina and Georgia. It's no indication from Georgia which way that's going, though. It seems like he's doing better in the places he needed to do better. She's doing better in the places she needed to do better. So
Yeah,
I think it's going to be close again, just like it was last time.
Yeah, where
Yeah,
did I
okay,
save that?
but-
I saved our. I saved. There we go. I saved our screenshots. Is it in the political folder? Or yeah, there we go.
I've got it if you need it again.
No. Did I not save mine? What the heck here? I never saved mine. When I did
So you don't have to be held accountable for it.
I'll be able to.
Yeah, NBC called Ohio for Trump, but not that that's any surprise.
Right. Here's your map from the other night.
Yep. I ended up making another one too.
So you had her eking out a win?
Yeah. I had another map just based on, okay, what if this happened and stuff like that with Trump winning. So because I was just trying to figure out, like, is there really a way this is leaning? I don't think there is. I still think there's not a way this leans.
You don't still think what?
I still don't think there's a way this is leaning so far tonight. I've just not seen anything that goes.
No, right.
This is a really bad sign for Harris. This is a really bad sign for Trump. There's been some of that in some states, but it's not been consistent. Like if she was,
right.
And like I said, exit polls not reliable. So we can't judge if like Trump's turnout really is happening with those young men that he wants to turn out. We don't really know.
Right. The other thing is something that, I mean, you can do whatever you want with statistics.
Of course, yeah.
After all, 100% of all murderers once drank milk.
Right.
That doesn't bode well for the dairy industry.
Right.
But that does it mean that you're going to be a murderer if you drink milk? So,
of course.
When we were looking at the marijuana laws and the abortion, a somewhat overwhelming majority was for abortion and was for recreational use of marijuana. But you see that they lost because they didn't meet the 60% threshold.
Right.
You're still seeing that 57% of the state of Florida is for something that's representative of Kamala Harris. Abortion and even marijuana. So I think that is a better measure of what could happen nationwide. And that could be your split state. The fact that abortion is something that she's been running on could have won if it was just a majority vote.
Well, that's why I think there is no pro-life coalition if Trump wins. He doesn't have any ideals or principles. He's not really pro-life. He was transactionally in 2016. He's pro-choice. So if he wins, I don't see any way that you have either party that's pro-life. I think that Republicans have already done a really bad job at messaging or top-down kind of like, hey, states, now that it's up to you, here's what we think. Here's how we should handle it. You know, there was none of that because Donald Trump was the leader of the party and didn't want to talk about it. And so I think that Republicans have really dropped the ball. I think for as much as the pro-life crowd has helped Republicans for 50 years, they got nothing in return after Dobbs came down. Not nothing. There's some states that pass laws and stuff like that, but there just doesn't seem to be a coherent message on abortion. Republicans are just hoping you don't bring it up. Well, I think that's a cowardly way to do politics. I think that believe in something and make the argument. That's what we're supposed to do. It feels like politicians are now just looking at these polls and looking at these referendums and things like that, and then going, there go the people, and I'm their leader, so I've got to follow them. It's a weird thing. It's the tail wagging the dog. So yeah, I mean, I had a long conversation with a neighbor the other night about this. I just don't see how I don't see that there's a pro-life coalition in, like, Republicans might give the wink to it, but they're not going to talk about it. They're not going to really try to do stuff because they are on the unpopular side of things. So that's going to be an interesting realignment. I mean, we've been realigning all this political stuff for a while. Democrat, like working class people are going to Republicans. Suburban people are going to college educated, are going in massive numbers to Democrats, more independents than there ever have been. So we're like, this realignment is happening for sure. It's just, I'm curious what it looks like in 2 years and 4 years and 6 years.
There you go. There's a better version of your map.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see. I'm probably not right. I'm going to guess. Not a lot of confidence in my vote.
Kansas was blue for the longest time, and that didn't make any sense to me because the rural vote is going to come in more quickly than the urban vote or than all of the urban vote. So while the urban votes are coming in, I thought it would switch from red to blue because the rural votes are easier to count.
Yeah, but every state's different too. I mean, Florida famously had the worst maybe election system in the country in 2000, and they have significantly shored that up. Their votes are always counted quickest. So I don't know why more people don't copy Florida. I really don't. Like, it's a huge state.
When I moved here, I left here. I slept in the day I wanted to get my driver's license. I wanted to be the first in line, because I knew it was going to be all day, that kind of thing. When I moved here, I slept in. I left here by around 25 after 9. I was back with a Florida driver's license by 10:15. In less than an hour, I went from driveway to driveway with a brand new Florida driver's license. And what do they call the new ones that, you have to fly and all that stuff?
Oh, the Real ID? Or is that what it's called?
Yes, that's it. Yep, Real ID. So it was the technical, they had to make it there, all that kind of thing.
Okay, here's an interesting stat. Florida has more votes counted right now as percentage of their population than any state in the Eastern time zone by like a ton. Like New York is at 44%.
New York closed
94%. South Carolina, 75% of the votes counted.
New York only closed at 9:00.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. So that's not a fair one there. But the others.
Oh, they closed later. But the other ones, I mean, North Carolina, South Carolina, Maryland, New Jersey. I mean, like all these ones, if they closed at that same time, it's like, and Florida has more people than Maryland for sure. So obviously, right. It doesn't kill me to not know the night of election night when you've got this close of a race. I mean, if it's as close as the polls say that it's going to be, I don't mind getting it right. I'd much rather get it right than do what we did in 2000 and call a state and then pull it back and then call it for the other guy and then call it back. That was a disaster, especially when they did that with polls still open in the panhandle of Florida. It's like, you probably discouraged people from voting because they were like, well, you already called it for Gore. Why should I go out and vote? So I don't know. It's interesting to me that like Florida's done a really good job. More people should copy them because Pennsylvania is still kind of a mess. I get both sides of this. I get that people want to know on election night. I also don't want there to be a situation where we're trying to be fast for the sake of being fast. Right. I'd rather be right. And so several of these states have margins of like 0.5% or whatever, where they do an automatic recount of some sort. And if a race is that close and that happens, you're just not going to get a call. So when the race is close, it's not so much that these states don't have good systems, but it is kind of funny that like Pennsylvania kind of learned their lesson from 2020, and they were like, oh, okay, we'll start processing mail-in ballots at 7 a.m. instead of 7 p.m. But to me, I'm like, why don't you just start processing them the day before and make sure that there's no leak of that information? Because I do not want early voting or mail-in ballots to be, I don't want those results to be released, because I think that I actually don't like the early voting. I think we do too much early voting. I think that voting in September is ridiculous. There's so much that can change in a race. We literally have a thing called an October surprise that happens almost every election cycle. And I realize that the people that vote in September,
what was that this year? What was the October surprise, and who got it?
That's a good question. I don't think we did not have one like we did in 2020 or 2016. Hunter Biden's laptop was certainly it in 2020, although the scandal came more about the suppression of that story than the story itself. I don't know that Hunter Biden's laptop was going to swing the election, but I think the suppression of it was very, very bad. It was bad for the trust in our institutions. It was really bad for the trust in the media. In fact, there was a story today. I saw the headline. I haven't read the thing, but CBS, it came out that like they knew it was verified that it was real, and they went on air and said it wasn't. So, I mean, that's journalistic malpractice. Like the FBI knew this thing was real for 9 months before it came out. They knew it was real in January, and we're not telling people that it was real. I think that was a real bad thing. And then obviously 2016, you had a lot of them. You had the Access Hollywood tape. You had Comey coming out and saying they're reopening the investigation because of the Anthony Weiner laptop stuff with Hillary Clinton.
Right.
I think the tricky thing is you can never prove that thing changed the results of the election. Like, I think the better explanation for Hillary losing in 2016 is that she didn't campaign in Michigan and Wisconsin until it's too late. I think that's a better explanation than Comey coming out and swaying the election to Trump. Now, I do think Trump only won because of the Access Hollywood tape kind of scaring him into releasing a list of judges he would nominate. And he kind of got in line with the traditional conservative Republicans because he knew he needed them to win. And so I think it did sober him up enough to help him win. But this year, I don't really know what it is. I mean, people are going to say it's the Puerto Rico thing. The Florida evidence does not show that affected the Puerto Rican vote in Florida. So Florida might be an outlier. We don't know. We'll see. People think Biden calling Trump supporters garbage might be a thing. I think that could be. I think Biden's garbage comment is more likely to sway things towards Trump than it does. Now, is that fair? No. Trump calls people garbage and worse all the time, but it's baked into it. I don't really understand why Republicans go up in arms about. Now, I mean, the president of the United States should not call half the country garbage. Like, plain and simple.
Neither should a presidential candidate.
No, neither should Trump. I'm not excusing Trump. I'm just saying, just because Trump does it and he's the moral reprobate that he is, doesn't mean Biden should also do it. And that's my point, is that Biden and Trump are not that different. Everyone thinks Biden's this nice Grandpa Joe. Biden's an a-hole. Like, frankly, he's an egotistical a-hole, just like Trump is an egotistical a-hole. They're both gigantic narcissists. And and like, for what? You're on a Vote for Latino Zoom call and call Trump supporter garbage? I just think that, and that's the other difference. Calling his supporters garbage is significantly worse than calling him fascist or whatever. Like, it's one thing to sling mud between the candidates. It's another thing to call the supporters of a candidate. And like I said, Trump does the same thing. He calls Democrats the enemy of the state. He calls them, they're poisoning the. I mean, he says all the rhetoric that you could ever say. It was exceptionally foolish for Biden to do so. He also had a slip where he said, we got to lock him up. And then he was like, politically lock him up. I just think Biden's such a liability for Harris. She should have thrown him under the bus a long time ago. But like, we'll see if Trump has a surge in some place. I think the problem is this race is going to be so close. We could realistically blame it on anything. We could blame it on the garbage content. We could blame it on the Puerto Rico thing. We could blame it on Harris not picking Josh Shapiro if she loses Pennsylvania. Like, there's going to be lots of things we can blame it on. I think the truth is this becomes about someone. I've said this the whole time. I think someone loses this race. It's not that someone else wins it. I think that when we look back, whatever the results are. I think there are plenty of mistakes that we'll see. We'll see if Trump loses, we will say, well, he shouldn't have had that comedian on, and he should have stayed on message, and he should have XYZ. And Harris, if she loses, we're going to say
staff has been saying that.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem. I read a really long article yesterday. Was it Atlantic, I think?
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
Listen.
Top of every hour, like clockwork.
What was I saying? I can't remember.
You read a long article about.
Sort of about the turmoil in the Trump campaign specifically. I think that, it was obviously some were anonymous for obvious reasons, but it seems like there's been a lot of frustration they're like, this is very winnable, and all we got to do is get the candidate to do the thing that we want him to do, and he just won't do it. So there's a lot of, like I said, it's maybe anecdotal, but there's a lot of staff that apparently is not looking to transition to his White House team or his administration, even if he wins, because they're just kind of so exhausted of the race. That is very rare for someone to help someone get elected. And then I don't want to be part of the administration.
How many times do 300 or whatever it's up to now? It was in the 200s and was approaching 300. Prominent Republicans or prominent members of any party. We're not just blaming it on Republicans, but how many times do 300 prominent members of a party come up and say, our guy sucks? And he gets this far along, even if he does lose.
Yeah,
I keep bringing back Gary Hart, who was eliminated as a nominee because I think it was Jennifer Flowers or whoever it was that sat on his lap.
I vaguely remember this, but
the picture that because he challenged the media to say, prove that I'm cheating.
Yeah,
okay, here you go.
Yeah, I think that what used to be considered a political gaffe, Donald Trump is impenetrable. I mean, he cannot be hit with the same things that every other political candidate. In some ways, not in some ways, he is the most unique politician in my lifetime for sure. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but he's certainly unique in the sense that the things that work or hurt other candidates do not seem to hurt him, sometimes don't work for him.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, here's what I think this boils down to. And this goes back to my theory all the time. If Trump wins, I think the difference is he's authentic. He's authentically terrible. I'll give you that. And I don't like him. Yeah. But no one is claiming that Donald Trump is not being exactly who he wants to be moment to moment. He can't stay on message because of it. He's, I mean, he's a character. And I think if he wins and Kamala loses, I think that's the difference. I think people just went like, we don't know her. We don't trust her because she seems like a chameleon and she seems fake. And I think that's what people didn't like about Hillary Clinton too. Hillary Clinton's not a good politician. Her husband is. This is not something that transfers via marriage to people. Like, my wife's a fantastic chef. I am not, believe it or not, even though we've been married for 14 years, that is not translated to me being a great chef. I'm a musician. She's not a good musician just because I'm a musician. So I think it's interesting that we thought like, oh, Hillary Clinton's just good at this because she's married to Bill Clinton. I don't think she was. I think people thought she was a phony and that's why she lost. I think Kamala Harris has the exact same problem. Like I said, she may end up winning because Trump is so toxic, but Harris could not beat any other Republican in this race. Clearly, if it's this close against Donald Trump, who, need I remind you, tried to steal an election in 2020. And sit right up on the Capitol. If he
exactly
how has a chance of winning,
still here.
Well, I mean, because Republicans have decided, and some in independents, and a lot of people have decided, I was better off 4 years ago. That the right on the Capitol and him trying to steal an election doesn't actually affect my life. I mean, which I think is a foolish position to take, but Republicans decided that was the. Like I said, Republicans chose Donald Trump in this primary. They had Nikki Haley. I mean, I think Nikki Haley, of course, she's disappointed me greatly since the primary, including writing an opinion thing of saying we should vote for Donald Trump. But that just doesn't mention any of the things that she had valid points on during the primary. We had Nikki Haley, who would have absolutely destroyed Biden. You would have seen Biden drop out earlier than the debate if she would have been the primary, because I think that Democrats would have been panicking much earlier than they would have been. And she would also mop the floor with Harris. I mean, I think it's just pretty obvious that, there are a lot of
She's a
people.
more seasoned
Yeah, she's
politician.
better at it. She's better at it. And sometimes there is a talent there. Now, this is tricky because I don't like that politics has become all about like, who do I want to go get a beer with? I just don't think that campaigning is the same as governing. And
Fair.
there's probably a lot of people that would be really good at the governing part that are terrible at public speaking or debates or whatever. Like the debate is such a terrible format for us to decide who should be the president, because it doesn't matter. Like, this is not a thing that the president needs to be good at, like giving us a 2-minute answer on what he'd do with foreign policy, which, by the way, I should send you this. I've got NBC up right now, and their exit polling has, I just got to put this.
Well, speaking of some of the polls, some updates since we last updated our own. Am I looking at that one? Yeah. Some updates since we last did our own. New Hampshire has gone to Kamala Harris, putting her up to 117. Montana, Wyoming, and Utah have gone to Donald Trump, putting him to 205.
Do we have a Senate anything in Montana yet? Let's see.
We can go to that.
No, only 1.7% in, so no, we're nowhere.
For the Senate?
We're nowhere. Yeah. Because that's the next one to watch. Ohio and Montana are the Senate races right now that are interesting. The other ones are not closed yet. Is that right?
Yeah, Tester and Sheehy. No results in there.
In Nebraska, that's the other one.
And I just
There
we go.
So yeah, I think that it's going to boil down to
40%.
So that's still really close. In the Senate race,
and also here, Moreno's developing a lead there. That I did not see that happening. I thought he was.
Well, I don't know enough about Ohio to know how much of this is urban versus rural. How much of there's no way he's really winning with that big of a percentage. Like, everyone said this is going to be a really close race, and still I think gave the edge to the Democrat. But that is definitely
so. But look at this though. Look at Cleveland. That's Matt's area.
Yeah.
He's to the west. That Akron and that one red part. He's got. This is his. Lorraine, I think, is his. Medina, and one of the other. He's got some driving to do. I remember him saying that.
Yeah, he's up in the top. But
that's that Medina. Yeah, okay, with 89% in, that's pretty red. But with 79% in, that's pretty blue.
Yeah,
and that's that's Matt's District 7. He might not be that far off.
He's with 56% of it in. He's down 50 to 37. I don't.
Really?
So I would say he can't. Yeah, I don't think he's going to make up that difference. Kucinich has 11% of it as an independent.
See, and
they're not calling it yet, but
that's 11 there. Okay, so he's in a huge. So he does have some driving to do. Wow. I thought he was. I mean, obviously, he is close to Cleveland, but he's also well into the sticks of Ohio, where Max Miller's going to have much more of a hold.
Right. That's the.
In case everybody's wondering why we're talking about this one little old district, our co-host of our Friday show, Matt, I'm brain farting. Matt Deemer is running for Congress in. So I just got another alert. Is running for Congress in the 7th District of Ohio, the former district of former Congressman Dennis Kucinich, who also ran against Hillary back in 2008 and was eliminated by her and Barack Obama. But he's getting 11%. If he's not in the race and he is left leaning,
I'm sure he's still. Yeah,
he's only an independent because he was essentially kicked out of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, he's.
If those votes go to Matt, that's 38. That's 51 to 49. It's a lot closer.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's
too bad.
Now, I will say, independents aren't breaking. Like, he would not get 100% of that. Like, if those are independent voters or if those are Democrats that voted for Kucinich or whatever, like, he's not really going to get all that 11%, and he'd have to get that whole 11.5, even be sniffing 48, 49%. So, still pretty unlikely. It's interesting to me that someone like Kucinich would be running an independent campaign in a district that he can't. I mean, like, that's pretty weak showing.
But this is what I've said about 90%, 95% of the political candidates that run for president and then continue with, pipe dreams like this. If you had the foresight necessary to be the president of the United States, you, Dennis Kucinich in this case, would have been able to tell that he was never going to be president of the United States.
Yeah, but most people are just running vanity campaigns. It's like a way to sell a book. It's a way to, like, jump to your next career. It's like, not.
And here he is. Okay, so you're telling me he's running a vanity campaign in the 11th district of Ohio?
No, I know. I mean, that one, you're right. That doesn't make any sense. But you said president. I do think there's vanity campaigns for
my campaign for how many times he's tried to do this in the past 15 years. I'd be embarrassed.
Yeah.
I would be embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is an interesting thing. It's like, what's going to happen with the people that have left the parties? Like, what's going to happen to Kucinich's, to Mitt Romney's, to Liz Cheney's, to? I mean, I realize Mitt Romney's just going to ride off to the sunset or whatever, but
yeah,
there's a bunch of Republicans that are not back Trump. Are they back? Are they, like, what are they doing?
Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, yeah.
And there's a lot of Republicans.
I've said this before. Oh, Pennsylvania's going red now.
Yeah, there's they're like called Wyoming Forum, not a surprise.
This map was actually kind of fun. The one that we got up there now from CNN. The lighter red and the lighter blue is how they're leaning at the time of the counting process right now.
Yeah.
It's not called. So we've been staring at Minnesota all night being red.
Oh, no, it was not going to be red.
And you're like, wait a minute. That's Tim Walz's state. Shouldn't he win that?
Yeah. No, it wasn't going to be red, but it is interesting that, like, hold on, I want to go look at that actually, because
there's only 2% of the vote in.
Yeah.
That's why it's still red.
Yeah.
Because like we said earlier, those less populated counties that have less to do to get their results in are in.
Yeah, what I'm interested to see, like, if Harris doesn't do better in Minnesota than Biden did in 2020, then to me, and she loses, that will be all the proof that we need to see that, like, obviously Tim Walz was a bad choice. I think both vice presidential picks were bad picks. I think that neither one of them helped either one of their campaigns. I mean, Donald Trump only helped himself. I mean, J.D. Vance is a slightly better one only because he can speak. And Tim Walz just isn't as great at it. So you got two kind of bumbling people on the Democrat side. And, I said from the get-go, I'm like, why are you picking a super progressive governor and then trying to run to the center? Like, we don't believe you. You know what I mean? Again, like, you're saying you've moderated on all these things, but your vice presidential pick is like the all in on the progressive agenda in Minnesota. Signed every bill of every, like, progressive wish list. It just sends mixed signals. And I realize most people can't even name Tim Walz or J.D. Vance that are going to decide this election. They're not paying attention to that. But my point is, you didn't help yourself. And we'll see. Like I said, she could end up pulling it out, and maybe it doesn't matter. But
So we're going to start watching Nevada now that they've closed. We were
yeah,
talking, Philip and I
Nevada.
talked about that earlier.
Someone on NBC was saying they think Nevada will be the closest one in the country.
Quite possible.
She's predicting like 1,000 votes, kind of close.
Roughly, pretty much, maybe we'll say 48% of the population is in Las Vegas and the surrounding area.
Of course, yeah.
Another 48% is in the rest of the state.
Yeah.
And 2% is in, and it's different. It's not as heavily weighted like that. But then another 2% is in the Reno area. And Las Vegas is progressive. The rest of the state is conservative, and Reno is purple. So Reno and that county and those areas of up here in the northwest state part of Nevada is like their swing state, their swing counties for the whole state of Nevada, and that's what it's to.
Fox called North Carolina for Trump.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't seen other people yet, but let's see if anyone else has that. That would be, I mean, he should win North Carolina. I would say if he doesn't, you'd be like going like, Lee.
They were going back and forth for the past week.
Well, no, they don't have it called. What? Someone did. Hold on.
They just flashed it, but no, Fox doesn't have it called yet.
No, they don't have it called. Who?
Polls too close
Decision
to
Desk,
states, including California.
Decision Desk called North Carolina. Apparently, that's who decided. That's who called it.
I don't know what the deal is with 1490, but I need a producer.
That tone, it's a test tone. I can hear it. I can hear what she's saying. She's saying, then you'll hear a test. It's like a test tone.
That's I hear the beeping. That's Tan Talk. That's them.
But why is that coming in on our feed?
I don't know. But 1490 is the other Tampa station that we're supposed to be on, and we're not. Yeah, they got something else going on.
Yeah. Let's see. Do I really have to click on every individual state? I can't just see their whole. Seems silly. So I guess, Decision Desk is called North Carolina, but no one else has. NBC has not. CBS, okay. Yeah, I'm hearing her say the next tone will be on the right channel. It's literally like a test stereo tone kind of thing. I can't.
Yeah, I'm hearing like it's like Morse code or something.
Yeah, it's
but
like a test.
That's from WTAN. Because watch this.
Oh, where does it come from? I don't know. This, I guess we can talk about
technical. They're later. Joining us through Restream.
Oh, right, but why do we have? Can you mute their audio? There it goes. No, it's still there. I thought it disappeared for a second. Yeah, so I mean, now we're just waiting for like Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, just those states we talked about needing to wait for. And it's 10:30 on the East Coast almost. Next polls close at 11 Eastern, which I guess is was that California, Oregon, Washington, all those. Yeah, curious to see what happens. I'm seeing if anything has been called on Senate yet. Nope.
The only place they are Tan Talk is.
I don't hear it anymore though.
I muted it, but now I'm trying to make sure that we're actually on, because I want to make sure that they're still getting us. I can't.
Yeah, they're
find
calling Montana for Trump, but not the Senate race.
What are they calling for Trump? Say that again.
Montana. NBC is, at least. And Iowa. So yeah, really the things I'm looking for now are Nebraska's Senate election, Montana's Senate election, Ohio's Senate election, maybe Wisconsin's Senate election. Baldwin so far is winning that one. And then obviously the presidential stuff across the board. But Arizona's definitely going to lose. Kerry Lake's going to lose in Arizona.
Oh God, I can only hope.
And, yeah. But if Nevada really is close, and like any other state, I think, then we're in it for a couple days. Because Pennsylvania, like I said, has some counties that are not even projecting to be done with mail-in vote counting until tomorrow night. So,
yeah,
unless it doesn't hinge on Pennsylvania, I will be very surprised. What I'll probably end up doing is staying up till 2 a.m. and then won't have a result, and then I'll be exhausted all day tomorrow. I really should go to bed early tonight because I, as recovering from trying to not be sick anymore. So yeah, we'll see. Well, I think I'm going to run.
I'm just trying to listen to WTAN.
I get it, yeah. Yeah, basically everyone's still saying Georgia and Pennsylvania. NBC is still saying Georgia and Pennsylvania too close to call, which makes sense. I did not plan on knowing them at 9:30 p.m. So I think, midnight might be the next chance we get to really know something. So I don't know that there's anything interesting I can say.
So we're on WTAN.
Okay. Here's the thing I was going to tell you earlier, by the way, that I forgot about. Okay, NBC's exit polls have what is the most important issue for you? Again,
they've all been doing that.
Exit polling, it's not necessarily accurate, but it's at least interesting. 34% say the state of democracy is the most important issue.
Yeah.
31% say the economy. All the way down at the bottom is foreign policy, 4%, which I just think is crazy when we've got the stuff that's going on in the world right now. Like the next president is 100% going to have to deal with all sorts of stuff hitting the fan. There's just no way around it. Like they are going to have to deal with China and Taiwan probably. They are going to have to deal with Russia, Ukraine, obviously, with that still going. Israel, Iran. I mean, so it's just interesting to me that, I don't know, it's just an NBC exit poll. 4% of people are like, yeah, I care about
NBC was saying the same thing.
I think that's the main thing that's the main thing the president should be doing is foreign policy. That's I get that we don't want to have to know everything about foreign policy. I am fine with that. Like, I don't think every American needs to be like up to date on the minutia of all of these foreign things, but I want the president and his staff to be, for sure. And we're just not serious. We are not taking this seriously. I don't believe for a second. My biggest detractor on both Trump and Harris is that I do not trust either one of them on foreign policy because I think that they are both, their egos, and it's not an ego for Harris. It's like, it's an insecurity with Harris that concerns me. I'm worried that Harris would be like, well, I'll show you I'm tough and do something stupid. I'm worried that Trump does the same thing. I think that there's.
I think Harris would be able to be reined in better by somebody like the Joint Chiefs or cabinet.
I think she'd hire better people. Trump hired very good people in his first term. Like, I'll give him credit for that. He hired better people than I thought he would. Adults decided they need to be in that administration so that they could.
Yeah,
guide
that's what they were called. Actually, did you ever listen to the Whistleblowers?
No, I haven't.
That's what they were called.
Yeah.
That's what certain people within the administration were called, was the adults in the room.
Yeah. And everyone needs that. I mean, there's no president that can do all this stuff themselves. I don't ever expect that. I just don't think Trump's going to hire the right people this time. So he's going to go for his worst instinct. Sometimes his instincts are good. Sometimes they're bad. Foreign policy, from what I understand, most of his wins on foreign policy were someone else doing the work and convincing him that
100%.
it was a good thing. Whether that's the Abraham Accords or whether that's taking out Soleimani. Apparently he was resistant to that, very much so, but everyone around was like, you really need to do this. So that's what worries me, is that, like, I think we've got a bigger foreign policy problem than we have anything else. The economy is doing pretty good. I mean, like, and the truth is, what's so interesting to me is that the president gets out there and talks to all presidential candidates go out and talk all the time about, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for the economy. I'm going to do this. The president really doesn't have that much control over the economy. And yet that's all they talk about. And we give them too much credit and too much blame for what happens in the economy.
Agreed.
The president absolutely has a gigantic outsized portion of control of foreign policy. And yet we don't care about it. I think that is very, very bad. I think it's going to, I don't think that changes until something like a 9/11 happens again, like something very bad or a bad foreign conflict or something where we really screw the pooch. And I just don't believe that either one of these people are very serious. I trust Harris slightly more only because she'll put adults. But look at Biden's administration. They've been terrible at foreign policy, in my opinion. I think that for her to go on 60 Minutes and say Iran is our biggest threat, like, you're not showing it with your actions of the current administration you're in. You guys have done nothing to Iran other than block them from attacking Israel. That's it. The sanctions released, they so desperately want to get into another nuclear deal with them. So I don't trust that the adults she'd put around her will be good on Iran policy, because they've been bad. Obama's foreign policy towards Iran was terrible. So was Biden's. And really, I think Obama's foreign policy was that was his biggest weakness. He was terrible at foreign policy too. Drew red lines in the sand in Syria and then didn't enforce them. I think that they're so scared of escalating with Iran specifically, which doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, they should be scared of us, not us of them. That's just it.
That's how it was in the good old days when Republicans weren't afraid to be the world's police.
Well, and like I said, I don't even think of it like as police. I think of it as like, look, if we say we've got your back, we have your back 100%. So if we're going to, what I don't like about Biden is that he's like, oh, I support Israel, I support Ukraine 100%. But then when they ask for stuff, he slow rolls it for 6 months, which means more people die. The war goes on longer and longer. And we get this attrition situation because he's so scared to escalate with Russia. That's a problem.
So considering modern times now, can you agree, or do you agree, that we've been, Tim Sheehy is kicking ass in it's only 2% of the vote, forget it.
Yeah, we're early.
That we've been at World War.
Yeah, I don't totally buy that we're in World War III. Like, we don't have troops in any of these places. I don't
mean, when I say we, I don't mean the United States immediately right now, but society at large, the world.
Yeah, but I think that's because these bad actors, Iran, North Korea, Russia, China, have realized they can get away with anything with Biden as the president. I think that continues with Harris. Look, I mean, she's scared to do a sit-down dinner with Democrats. How is she going to sit down with Putin and like negotiate something? By the way, it also just came out that Russia, it's confirmed that Russia was planning a terrorist attack on European airlines.
Yeah.
Because these are the bad guys. Like, and Trump doesn't take that very seriously in mind. Although, like I said, I will give Trump full credit. His first administration was tougher on Russia than Obama's or Biden's or anyone's.
You mean when he sat there and kissed Putin's ass about?
Yeah, he did. But like the administration was not. The administration was hammering him with sanctions and all sorts of stuff. Trump likes dictators because he wants to be one. That doesn't mean that that's how he governs, though. Because like I said, he puts people in charge and he doesn't really care about dealing with sanctions and stuff. He's bored by that stuff. So he has someone else do it. So Trump's administration was actually tough on Russia, much more so than people, I think. The revisionist history of all this is that, oh, he just let Russia do whatever. That's actually not what was happening. Yes, his words were, I don't like that they were too friendly to Putin, who is obviously like a bad guy. Like there's no question about who's the good guy, who's the bad guy in this situation. I think all of those countries have decided, and I think Trump has a decent argument here in that stuff didn't happen while he was president, because I think he was such a loose cannon.
Couple updates. go back to this. We called this one earlier ourselves, but CNN, and I think Fox did as well, but CNN is now calling Mississippi and Ohio for Trump. They waited a little later. But also the Milwaukee recounting of 30,000 absentee ballots has been completed. So we should be seeing an update on Wisconsin before 3 a.m.
That's not the mail-in ballot stuff that I was talking about earlier, is it?
Let me.
That's got to be just
on the screen because it's proprietary, but or
Yeah.
copyrighted. And Milwaukee finishes recounting 30,000 absentee ballots as counting proceeds swiftly. Milwaukee has counted more than 63,000 out of 107,000 absentee ballots. Officials announced just after 8:30 p.m., making faster progress after an error in setting up tabulator machines required a recount of about 30,000 ballots.
Well, that's good.
That sounds like the one you talked about, right?
Yeah, that is the one I talked about. Yeah, but obviously they're slightly ahead of schedule, so that'll be good. Yeah, I mean, I think that. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know that there's anything interesting happening. So I might go rest for a little bit.
Yeah,
Get back up in an hour. Yeah, I still don't feel great.
10:30. We only got about 29 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
And
So I think I'm going to go crash for a little bit. But do you think do we think we'll know by Friday's show? I think we will.
Well, I mean, let's wrench on this ourselves and figure out some. So the map as you see it now is what's been called. I think Maine. That's going to be a standard.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole Northeast is going to be red. I mean, blue.
I think that's how we had it before. There was that one district within Maine that was Republican, and the other four. Yes,
Nebraska and Maine are the ones where the most of the state goes to one party, and then there's one. Yeah,
I think New Mexico.
They split their electoral vote.
California,
which, hey, by the way, going back to the Electoral College thing, I would have no problem. That to me is the compromise: is let states not give their entire slate, but split it based on the popular vote in that state. Like, I'd be okay with every state not going winner take all. There's nothing that says they have to be, obviously. There's nothing constitutional that says they have to be. Right. So if you really want to, the problem is if everyone doesn't do that, then you're giving up electoral votes and other people aren't. So it's one of those things where everyone have to buy into it. So I don't think it's a very realistic solution. But to me, that's the better solution. It's like, no, you keep the Electoral College, so you still have it, but you could, say Republicans will get some red out of California because it's not 100%. That'd be fine with me. It's not going to happen, but I don't have a legal problem with it.
So here's what it's going to get challenging. He is already leading in Georgia and North Carolina.
Right.
If he wins Nevada, he's 5 points away. He's
right.
leading.
What do you have, Pennsylvania? You have Pennsylvania blue right now, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's not winning Virginia, so you can take that one off for sure.
You think
you've got Virginia? What?
He was winning Virginia.
Is he? I don't think so. No, Virginia's solidly blue.
Okay, they're coming back.
Oh wait, sorry. I'm on Senate map. Hold on. I mean, Harris should definitely win Virginia. So I would change Virginia.
You think she's going to come back in Pennsylvania? And
I think Pennsylvania, Nevada, maybe Michigan and Wisconsin are all really close to call. I do think, but Trump winning Georgia and North Carolina is like necessary for him, but it's not all he needs to get over the line.
Right.
But that's why I think it's going to come down to Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania basically swings the vote one way or another. Because if you change Virginia blue there,
but if all those there she does win Virginia, which it's gone back to light blue.
Yeah.
She's 270 to 265.
Right. Which is
missing. Oh, there we go. Sorry.
Which I think is her path.
270 to 268.
I think she has to win all 3 blue wall states. If she doesn't, she's not going to win.
Even if she wins Nevada, which is a possibility.
It is.
Do you think she's going
Absolutely.
to pull out Arizona at all?
No. Trump will definitely win Arizona, I think. And I think the close states are going to end up being Nevada, Pennsylvania. For forever, the blue wall has, whether it was red or blue, they've all gone the same way. That doesn't mean that that'll happen this time, but it has happened in previous elections. So, yeah, I mean, that would be this situation, even with Nevada, would be a very close race.
With the blue wall,
yeah,
it used to also have Ohio. I don't think it ever really had Indiana. Do you?
No. I mean, the blue wall's been referred to as Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania specifically. I think since 1984, they've all gone the same way. Don't quote me on that.
Okay. All right.
And for everyone other than 2016, they were blue. That's why they call it a blue wall.
Yeah. Right.
Pennsylvania right now is 58% in and 117,000 difference in the vote. So that is, and Trump's ahead. So that's different than last time so far. I mean, I realize that's not the whole thing. It's too close to call, but that's a bigger margin right now than the margin was in 2020 for Biden, except it swung the other way. I mean, if Harris loses Pennsylvania, it's going to be, I mean, what an idiot.
It's going to be hard.
Pennsylvania. I mean, to not pick Josh Shapiro is going to look like the dumbest thing ever, especially if it's a smaller margin than 2020.
Yeah.
It makes no sense that you're not going to pick a governor from a state that has like a very popular governor from a state you have to win. There is no situation. There's really no situation where Kamala Harris can win this race without winning Pennsylvania. I mean, there are, but I mean, they're not very realistic.
It's just not realistic. Mathematically, yes. Realistically, no.
She'd have to win all those other swing states. So I don't. If she loses Pennsylvania, I mean, it will be. I think Democrats will. I think the more interesting that happens after this election, I think, my opinion, I think both these people will be bad presidents. I don't think things will get better in the next 4 years. I think foreign policy wise, it'll be worse. I think economically, they both have terrible, terrible ideas that'll just make bigger problems and worse economic problems than we already had. And so I think they'll be bad presidents. What I'm curious to see what happens after this election is, like, based on who loses, what happens to that party? I think if Democrats lose this election to Donald Trump, maybe the most flawed candidate you could possibly ever hope to run against, which is why they pay money to boost the campaigns of Trumpy people, because they'd rather face them in the general election than other people. And to me, it just is to me, it's what's the introspection after that? Like, do they just try to blame it all on Biden and not look at all at the other problems that they've had? And like, why more people trusted Donald? If Donald Trump wins this, he'll have to have more support than he had, obviously, in 2020. But some people are saying if he wins it and like wins the popular vote too, then it's like that's a bad referendum on Democrats, in my opinion. So they're going to have a lot of soul searching to do. I think Republicans won't do it the right way if they lose, because they'll.
But let's go back to the issues then. Like we saw here in where I'm at in Florida, that the amendment to add abortion as a right to the Constitution of Florida was shot down only because you have to get 60% of the vote. It still had 57% of the vote, which, if we were talking about Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, what does that say? When one of the things she's running on And one of the things that supposedly really bit him in the ass had no effect on him.
Well, I don't. Obviously, in Florida, it's not a situation where there are obviously pro-abortion Republicans in Florida. I mean, that's
37%.
37.
I did an episode on that. 37% of Republicans are pro-choice. 20% of Democrats, and this hasn't even been an issue.
Right.
20% of Democrats carry a gun.
Right. But to me, what that says is that if you force people to vote on a single issue, they're going to vote a certain way. You're not voting on a single issue when you vote for Harris or Trump. You're voting for a lot of things. It's obvious that there are some people that are like, well, yeah, if I'm tasked with asking, do I want abortion to be constitutionally protected in Florida? Not enough people, 57% said yes, but that's not enough to get across the threshold. But obviously, a lot of those people are voting for Trump. But that obviously their abortion vote does not affect their presidential vote or their Senate vote or whatever it is. I think part of that is because I do wonder if what I wonder is like, do people feel like it's a state issue or like states issue? Sorry, like a federal, like it shouldn't be a federal thing. It should be a state thing. I'd be curious to see if there are opinions on that, because it's obvious that in the states that have had these referendums or constitutional amendments or these votes that went to the public, like Florida is the first state that it lost for like an abortion referendum.
Right.
I just wonder, like, are those opinions? Does that mean that they go, yeah, I think it's a state thing, and so I'm not going to vote for Kamala Harris because I don't think it should be a federal law. I don't think most people are thinking that deeply about federalism versus the federal government versus states' rights versus. I don't know if most people are thinking that thing. I don't think most people even know that we have states' rights, because I think that most people just think the president does everything he says he can do and doesn't even think about Congress or anything. We're getting dumber, essentially, is what I think. And I think that also with abortion specifically, the way Harris has framed it has been smart, but it's incredibly dishonest too. I mean, this pretending that people are. I think all the stuff about people dying is BS. There is no state where you can't treat someone for having a miscarriage, and that's been the thing that her campaign has been saying all the time. In fact,
then I'm going to push back. I'm going to push back on one.
Yeah.
The border. Crime is not being caused by illegal immigrants.
It is in some cases, but it's not the main
You're
driver.
not going to risk your life swimming across the Rio Grande River to come here for a better life.
Well, some of them are some of them are gangs that are coming here to do gang stuff because there's no economy in Venezuela, for example, to graft off of.
If that millions and millions of people that have come across the border is actually accurate, you're telling me that a high percentage of those millions?
No. I'm not saying it's a high percentage
crime.
But I'm saying it's not
going down. But when crime has gone down during the Biden administration,
it hasn't really gone down, though. I mean, the FBI revised their statistics. It's basically the same as it was in 2018, 2019. So when you look at crime data, you can't look at 1 year at a time. It doesn't, like, there are just normal, like, you want to look at a trend line over time. The trend line since 2018 has kind of done a couple blips because of COVID and some other stuff that were clearly external. You know, COVID was obviously a gigantic thing. The border, I think, is part of that for sure. I mean, because here's the thing: they're breaking the law immediately when they come here and do that. So they are lawbreakers, like by the very definition of what they're doing. That's why I think it's important that we know who's coming in our country. I'm not saying I'm not anti-immigration. I think immigrants are great, but we got to have a system, and we have to know who's coming in the country. It doesn't take that many anecdotal stories and it doesn't take very many, like, you know, there are people coming across the southern border from Iran and Syria and Iraq and all these places where you don't have any business coming across our southern border unless you have nefarious reasons. I mean, Iran has had assassination plans on John Bolton and Donald Trump. And Russia has had some of this stuff too. There are people in our country that absolutely wish us harm, and it only takes one of them to to do a terrorist attack that's going to cause a huge problem, right? So that's why I think we got to know who's coming across. My bigger problem with the border is that
I keep hearing about how the border is wide open. The border is wide open. We caught this terrorist and we caught that terrorist coming across, and this bad guy we got caught coming across. If you caught them, That doesn't sound very wide open to me.
Well, but the numbers have increased significantly. So if you look at people on our terrorist watch list over the last several years during the Biden administration, it was like 15 people that we caught on our terrorist watch list coming across the border the last year Trump was in office, or 2019, I guess, technically, or something. It was like 300 in 2022. So there are more there's no doubt in my mind that people with bad intentions took advantage of Biden's border policy. His border policy that was essentially, if you walk across and we don't catch you, or even if you walk across and claim asylum, we're going to let you stay in the country and maybe not see your asylum judge until 2033. It's very clear. And, the thing that doesn't get enough, that I don't think gets enough news from this is like, this is a human trafficking nightmare. The cartels are getting paid to move people across the border. There is sex trafficking in that. There is human trafficking. Yeah. There's people doing labor that aren't getting paid. There's that is absolutely happening. And we are responsible for that as a country. If we have an open border, or if we don't have good border security, we are allowing the trafficking of human beings from other countries that are in bad situations. There's no doubt. They're trying to get to a better life, but sometimes they're ending up here and they're slaves. I mean, this is actually happening. This is not hyperbole. We are responsible for that.
Agreed.
We are responsible for that. Like, it's our border. We should know who's coming in here. We need to make sure that minors are with family, and like we can verify that. Because there's all these unaccompanied minors coming across. It's like, what's happening to those kids? And this is something that's happening in my backyard. I mean, this was not an illegal immigrant kind of situation, but like, people that don't think sex trafficking is happening are delusional. I think it's one of the bigger problems we have. Like, people pretend that slavery doesn't exist anymore. It absolutely does. And I just feel like we're not doing enough for that kind of stuff. And these are issues that I think really, really matter, not to mention the fentanyl problem at the border. Now, fentanyl is a tougher problem to solve because it is very easy to sneak in, because for the most part, they were paying off border security. It's pretty hard to get around that if you have corrupt border security. I'm not convinced that. I think the border is a problem. People know it's a problem. I think for Biden and Harris to pretend that they didn't cause the problem, everyone knows they're lying about it. And so I think if she loses, I think that's a big reason why. I think is because she's been the administration was very bad on the border. And it's obvious that they could do what they said they couldn't do, because the last 6 months it's tightened up significantly with the stroke of his pen, because that's how he opened the border too. This gets back to my opinion that the president should not be doing executive orders the way they do all the time. We need Congress to do their job, not the president, because this keeps getting screwed up. When administration to administration, we get these 180s between policies. It's not sustainable.
Kamala Harris has one main.
Yeah, that's not surprising. She should have that entire Northeast.
Yeah, and I think if I saw this correctly, the one alert that I got said she got that one as well. That she got the one that we were projecting to go red.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a helicopter flying outside.
Yeah, there was something just drove by. Loud as all get out here too.
Okay. Let me see. Who called? Or is that CNN?
I got that. No, I got that alert on one of the programs that I'm following on my phone.
Okay. Oh, you're making this map that's up on the screen.
And CNN has been calling like way late. Like Fox has been way ahead of most of them. Fox isn't doing a map though. That's really ticking me off.
Oh, I'm sure there's a map.
And Fox has not called anything for Maine yet. It's still tabulating.
It has to be working, but it's not.
Baby, where are you going? She might have to go out.
Seriously, what's going on?
One more minute.
Why it's not letting me load Fox News? Be an inconvenient time for your website to have a problem. I don't know if it's me or them though.
So in my eyes are getting watery. In 11 minutes, we're going to be wrapping up, and polls are going to be closing in what's next? Washington, Oregon, California. Why are we echoing?
I think they're all closed at 11 p.m. Eastern, right? Is that?
Yes.
Oh, well,
Yes.
sorry, not Alaska and Hawaii. Sorry.
Not Alaska or Hawaii.
They don't.
For Nevada, California, Oregon, and Washington.
Fox has Harris. No, Maine only has 15% reporting. I don't think they're. Oh no, they're calling Maine, but they're only. Oh no, I don't understand their map.
What are you seeing?
Well, they've got the stripes across Maine, so part of it's white and part of it's blue. To me, that means they're calling one part of it, but not the other. But I can't click into the map because it's not. I think something's wrong with the. Gosh, sorry, this mic keeps falling on me. Yeah, but I mean, so far everyone's basically saying Michigan, Wisconsin too close to call, Georgia too close. Decision Desk has North Carolina for Trump, but I don't think any of the NBC or
that
Fox.
That one happened a little while ago.
Yeah, but Fox and CNN don't have North Carolina.
Yeah, or Virginia. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, but Virginia's definitely. I mean, there's nothing about tonight that's shown me that there's going to be any surprises. Does that make sense? Like, you remember when going into this, we were like, okay, polls are really close. Someone could sweep all the swing states. They could not. Someone they could split them. They could do. I still don't think we have the answer to that question. But there's been no surprises as far as there's no.
So
oh wow,
she is gaining Pennsylvania. When you and I started talking about probably a half hour, 45 minutes ago, she was at like 47%. Let me share this one.
She's at 48.3 now.
Yeah, so she's gaining slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Don't call me Shirley. But she's gaining in Pennsylvania. I don't remember anything from Wisconsin. Oh, that's close anyway.
Wisconsin's very close, like less than 20,000 votes close, with 57% in.
Yeah.
Robert Kennedy, RFK Jr. has 0.5% there. That means there's some idiots in Wisconsin that voted for RFK Jr. despite him endorsing Trump.
If you put your ego aside and realize that Cornel West, Chase Oliver, Jill Stein, and Robert Kennedy are not going to be president of the United States.
Of course not.
And you pick the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, but this doesn't bother me because I'm a protest vote guy.
Honestly, I think it would still be close because I'm thinking the Robert Kennedy people would go to Trump, and Stein, Oliver, and West would go to Harris.
You also don't know. I mean, like, first of all, the Stein and West votes are those people are going to vote for those people alone. They're not picking Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. The RFK Jr. one is specifically funny, but
ABC has just announced that they're picking Tim Kaine to be reelected in Virginia.
Yeah, that should be no surprise.
They are with a much more sizable finish, 53.8 to 44.2. Ted Cruz will defeat Colin Orrid in Texas.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
I mean, Yergs, people were talking like Allred had that one, like when that one poll came out, that was like, he's ahead. I mean, they were celebrating essentially already. It's ridiculous. It looks like he's gonna get beat by like 7, like almost 10 points right now. What's not in right now? I mean, there's some suburban stuff around San Antonio, but that should be red. God, yeah, I mean, if he ends up winning by larger percentage than he did the last Senate race, Democrats are idiots.
Yeah,
for spending that much money in Texas. I mean, especially because look, my consolation prize for I don't like Kamala Harris. I think she's dangerous. The thing I'm okay with is like
she's not as dangerous as Donald Trump.
No, but I think she has very bad ideas. And when people talk about the threats to democracy, I think she is as big of a threat to democracy because she wants to pack the courts. I think that's the same thing as Donald Trump trying to steal an election.
Never happened.
If they want Democrats won the Senate, they would do it. They'd get rid of the filibuster, and they will do a federal right to abortion. That'll be by the way, that's the other thing that bothers me about Harris.
You almost have me convinced, switched over, converted to being pro filibuster.
Yeah, I'm pro it because I do not like the idea of these people getting in office and going like, there's a mandate for me, which would be ridiculous to win a race this close and then claim that like you need to get rid of the filibuster to do these crazy things that you want to do, like pack the court. I think that is plainly unconstitutional. It would lose, but here's what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden do. They go, okay, Congress won't do this thing, so I'm going to do it. I know it's illegal, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then the court
they tried to close the border. The first bill they sent.
No, come on. That was BS. No, they opened the border. He undid all of Trump's executive orders and opened the border. That's exactly what happened. Don't pretend he tried to reform the border. He only changed that in the last 6 months because it was killing them electorally.
It was
they
the
won't
first
admit it,
one
but that's
sent.
Yeah, but it was a bill that was never going to go. It didn't even make it out of committee, Jurg. So that doesn't matter. Like it didn't even make it out of committee.
Why?
Democrats controlled the House too. It didn't make it out with Democrats, Jurgs. It was a bad bill. It was ridiculous. It's not the same bill as the one that Langford and them made up this past year. That's a different bill, and I think that would be a pretty reasonable one, and they should have passed it, but Trump killed it. I just think that Kamala Harris with a Republican Senate that's the leash on her, and I'm great with that because she's not going to be able to do most of the things she wants to do. Now, I still think she'll be dangerous because she'll sign executive orders that she knows are illegal. The Supreme Court will strike them down. She'll then call the Supreme Court illegitimate for doing their job, and that's what Biden's done this whole time with student loans and things like that. Trump did it with the border wall and funding. So this is the new thing that presidents do. They just go, I'm going to act unilaterally, even if I think it's illegal, which is not upholding the Constitution. We make them swear that they're going to uphold the Constitution. And then they blatantly, that is blatant. What Joe Biden has done and really all of them. I mean, it really started with Bush and Obama cranked it up and then Biden and then Trump cranked it up and then Biden's basically been all pin and phone too. I just think that this is a bad way to run a country. And I don't trust that Kamala Harris has good instincts on that stuff. But I will be glad if the Republicans take the Senate and we don't have to deal with, I want divided government at this point because I don't trust these people outside of divided government. I really don't. And I think it would be good to actually do. I think it would be good to see. I'm not saying anything would get done. I would like to see more things of like, let's tackle the things that we can get done together with a Democratic vice president and potentially a Republican controlled Congress. Now, I'm not optimistic that they'll get a lot done because I think that most people are doing performative stuff and they can never be seen. Compromise is like a dirty word now. Not even compromise, just,
I don't get that. Why that's.
Well, I do. I mean, that's why primaries are a problem. We let a teeny tiny percentage of people that are really amped up on specific issues choose our nominees across the board. I think it's a problem. That's why you have to pander to that base.
We got 2 minutes left with one of our affiliates, WTAN and WDCF, going to be leaving us in a little bit. And frankly, I don't even know. We're probably actually going to lose KSHP too. But check out, I'm going to leave at go to yergz.com. YERGZ.com. And let's see, where's that one? There we go. Yergz.com and mastiff.media for show notes and other info, especially yergz.com. We'll have links for everything that we've been talking about tonight to include the same maps we've been using. And nobody's watching. Yeah. The radio doesn't agree with you, douchebag. Go to yergz.com. I got a troller. Go to yergz.com, yergz.com. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 11, as we are every day throughout the week. I want to thank everybody that joined tonight, Philip Blake, and all the other network stuff that we've had. What do you got tomorrow? When's the next episode? When you got an episode coming out tomorrow?
Depends how I feel tomorrow. I'll probably do an episode tomorrow. I mean, I need to. I think it's probably going to depend on if we know anything or not. I may actually run. If we don't know tomorrow, I'll probably run an episode I recorded but haven't released. That's a little more evergreen. But I'll probably do an episode tomorrow. I thought about doing a live thing tonight, but I just don't think we know enough to be interesting tonight for me. So yeah, I'll probably do one tomorrow.
So yeah, Tommy Brown says nobody's watching you. You spent too much money on equipment. It's the end of the world. It doesn't matter who wins. Trump saves Israel, which is God's land. Okay.
Well, if it doesn't matter who wins, then how is Trump saving Israel if he doesn't win? I guess.
Yeah.
I also don't think. I think Israel has figured out that they can just do what they think they need to do, and maybe they don't rely on the United States as much because everything Biden's asked them to do, they didn't do it, and then they win. I mean, so whether it's going after Hezbollah or if that's going into Rafah and taking out the leader of Hamas, everything Biden tells them not to do, they do. So to me, it's like, yeah, keep doing the opposite. I mean, Trump is definitely better on Israel, no doubt. I don't know that he's going to have those people that care about that as much. I think that the really
he's going to be Netanyahu's yes man.
I don't think so. I think that the sort of nationalist part of the right has gotten really rabid, and I'm not sure that you look at the language of like J.D. Vance and Tucker Carlson and these people that they give lip service to Israel, but not really. I just wonder, like, I'm not totally convinced that, like I said, I don't think Donald Trump has a conservative bone in his body. So I don't trust that he's going to be consistent on any of these issues, even if he was in the first administration. He was after October 7th, he was calling out Netanyahu for not supporting him. He was like, I mean, that's the Trump that we're talking about. He wasn't sending condolences. And by the way, his whole like poisoning the blood of our country and calling all that stuff, all that started after him calling the January 6th people hostages happened after October 7th. He's literally piggybacking on real hostages.
Are you seeing this? I mean, we lost our terrestrial stations. I know they're gone for the night. But California, CNN has called California already.
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't need a lot to know that California is going blue. Oh, but I thought Donald Trump said he was going to win it, though, Yergs, in New York.
Yeah, isn't that a little scary?
Well, that's my biggest problem with Trump and Trump supporters is that on its face is crazy to say that he thinks he could win New York or California. It's absolutely insane. And about 2/3 of Republicans just take it as the gospel truth if he says something. He on Dr. Phil's interview, he claimed he would have won California if there was honest vote counting there. He lost California by like 5 or 6 million votes.
Right.
To think that they stole the election with 5 or 6 million votes in California, which, by the way, California, very, 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 very blue state. Like no one. It's not because they cheat. It's because it's a very blue state.
Yeah. I mean, not all of it. There's some very red parts, but overall.
Yes, but I mean, overall, it is the most progressive state in the country, and the most democratic.
But my question to you then is this: if you're gonna call California right as polls close, why would you not also call, like I'm doing here on the map? Why would you not also call Washington and Oregon, which are more progressive from California?
Yeah, I think I don't know enough about why they project winners and losers with sometimes 2% of the vote in and sometimes it takes 80% of the vote in. I don't know enough about that math. I'm sure there's something about where they look at specific counties and they just go, well, if this county didn't go any different than last time, or if it's even a bigger margin, then so goes the rest of the state. I don't actually know enough about that kind of stuff on how they make these projections. Like I said, California, maybe it's just that they're like, yeah, well, there's no way California. I mean, they did this with Arkansas and some other ones too. It's like polls closed, 2 seconds later, we're projecting Arkansas wins for Trump. Yeah. I mean, some of them are just most of the country now is very polarized, Republican or Democrat. So we're getting more and more polarized, which means blue states are getting bluer, red states are getting redder, and then we have a few of these swing states and sort of a few purpley kind of states. But for the most part, our electorate is getting more like I said, we're getting more. I don't want to say extreme. That's not the right word for it, but California is ran by Democrats, and you get a sort of certain atrophy when you've got like a supermajority Democrat state or a supermajority Republican state. We have the same problem in Oklahoma. It's just the opposite side. You know, we kind of need some more 50-50 places. We need some more 55, because people forget that, I know it frustrates people, but that's what kind of makes Congress interesting, is that if you've got a 4-seat majority in the House, well, those 4 seats, those 4 people know who they are, that they have all the power in those handful of seats. Well, that doesn't happen if you're 75% Republican. You would need, a third of the group of people to go against you. So you don't really have that ability to govern well, I don't think. And so I am curious to see how the realignment of the parties and the states as they get redder. Now, you're seeing that maybe not happen as much, but Florida's getting redder. I'm curious to see what the final results will be in Texas, to see if Cruz wins by more than he did last time. Then I think it would prove that these urban areas and the people that came from California are not voting more Democratic than they were. So I'm not sure that anything.
What is taking so long in Minnesota
to call it?
Only 12%.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why? Florida has millions more people than Minnesota does, and they counted all their votes like that. Every state could be as fast as Florida, and the truth is, they don't have good systems. Like I said, is fast the most important thing? No, I think accuracy is too, but Florida's accurate and fast. So, to me, we could have the results tonight if every state was as, Florida got embarrassed in 2000 and they fixed
brought that up earlier before you joined. Phil brought that up. Is that, and I agree. I've said it before, actually. There needs to be a consistency, not just with operational procedure, as in how you count the ballots and with what machines and whatever, but the process itself.
Well, I'm okay with the process being different in different states. I think this is 100% a states' right thing. Part of the reason our elections can be secure is because it's 3,000 different counties in 50 different states, and you can't possibly hack one system and get into every election system. You'd have to go county by county or state by state. So I do like that we have different systems, but for the counting part, it just doesn't seem like it should take as long as it does. If Florida can do it in one of the biggest states in the country,
right,
with as many votes as are there. And by the way, it's a big state too, land wise. When we drove down for the Orange Bowl in 2000, when we drove to the Orange Bowl in 2000, you get to Florida and you're halfway there to Miami from Oklahoma. So it's 12 hours to Florida and then 12 more hours inside of Florida to get down to Miami. And it's a big state. So with a lot of people, I think more people should look at Florida. More people. I think Oklahoma's system's really good, although they don't have the population that Florida does. But I want voting machines that are never connected to the internet. I want paper ballots in every state. I think that we need to have, as both sides get more into claiming elections were rigged or stolen, or I'm so tired of that. Donald Trump took it to another level than everyone else did, but we had Hillary Clinton and other people in 2016 saying the same thing, calling Donald Trump an illegitimate president. I do not like that our faith in our election systems is gone down. It should be going up because it is getting better all the time. It's more accurate than it ever has been. And that bothers me that people don't have faith in the elections. That's why I would love to have voter ID laws everywhere. I would love to have paper ballots everywhere, because you can't. That eliminates the problems that Republicans are going to try to claim. If Trump loses, they will claim that it was because millions of illegal immigrants voted. There will be no evidence of it, but it's also something you can't really prove in a state that doesn't require voter ID. It's one of those things where you go, it's hard to disprove too. I'm not saying that needs to be conspiracy theory.
I guess this is the conservative side of me. I'm for voter ID. We were going over the referendums earlier, Philip and I were, and I'm amazed at the number of states that have a referendum for requiring that you're a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, we had one in Oklahoma. Yeah. It was
To-
actually
to-
just it wasn't a referendum. It was a change in the language in the state constitution that clarified that. So it was like a clarification thing.
But to vote in a federal election, you have to be one anyway.
Well, right,
That's
but
it is universal.
But we've had situations this election, not at any sort of level that will swing anything, but we've had situations in this election already where immigrants voted. And I think it was in Michigan that it happened, a Chinese national vote. And they're like, yeah, we've arrested him, but we can't uncount his ballot. It's anonymous. Once it gets into the system, you can't uncount that vote. The problem there was that they allowed a student ID to be the ID that he voted with, and he just checked a box that says I'm a citizen. We need to have 1,000%. You should not be able to register to vote without proving you're a citizen. You can't check a box. That's the problem right now, is that the federal form is just a box that you check. There's no verification whatsoever. I think we do need to shore that up. Now, our legal, to your point, is anyone coming here and then risking going to jail or getting kicked out of the country so that they could vote? No. Right. For the most part, that's not happening in massive, not even massive. I think Georgia did an audit of how many registered immigrants were in the voter rolls at some point, and I think it was 1,300 over the last 25 years. Not very many. Okay, so. But I want everyone to have the faith that our elections are fair and that the people who are who they say they are when they're voting. And by the way, voter ID laws are very, very popular. I don't know why Democrats are so claiming they're racist. Black people want voter ID laws. Mexican people want voter ID laws. Almost everyone across the board, it's 75% of the country says, yeah, we're fine with that. I can show an ID.
I think they don't like it because it's a step towards further suppression.
But how is that suppression? There in Georgia that Biden called Jim Crow 2.0, no one could find a single voter that said they were disenfranchised by any of those laws. They tried to sue the state for it. They could not find a single defendant or whatever to or whatever you call it in a civil suit like that. They could not find a single person. They could not find a single black person that said they tried to vote and couldn't in the whole state. They tried to find someone. This is not, and by the way, black people are totally capable of getting an ID. That's what bothers me about it. Is why do you pretend that minorities don't have agency?
That's where it's starting. Is that you say that black people are totally capable of getting ID? That's great.
Yeah.
Where are they going to get it? Where are they going to get it when the DMV or any other type of office isn't in their neighborhood and they can't get there?
How many people don't have IDs, though? I mean, this is my point. You have to have an ID for so many other things. This is not the only thing we need an ID for.
Said the cushy white guy from Oklahoma.
I'm telling you, I don't find me someone that can't get an ID. And my point is, in Oklahoma, by the way,
most of the people I've ever arrested.
By the way, in Oklahoma, it can be the voter ID card they send you. It doesn't even have to be a state driver's license. So I think that's a great thing.
Which is also scary.
I don't think why is that scary?
Does the voter ID card that Oklahoma gives have your picture on it?
No, but it has your name. You'd have to steal someone's voter ID card and to go to be able to take that. So I think that's a totally reasonable thing. I think voter ID card that we mail to you.
Deb Fisher has tied Dan Osborne in wherever that was.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Did they call it? They're not calling it yet, right?
No, it's 50-50. It's 50-50.
Okay. Yeah,
Are
it
you
is
hearing
exactly.
the echo?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Boy, that one might be tight. We'll see what happens.
It is. It's 50-50.
Yeah, but I want people to have faith in the elections. I don't like the Donald Trump nonsense of saying if we lose,
wake up, goddammit!
If we lose because someone cheated, I think it's ridiculous without any evidence to show that. But that's what people think. I mean, I've had people emailing me all week with conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory, every which I debunked. I mean, it was so easy to do with a quick Google search. We had the Haitian migrant stuff where they were claiming to vote. There was Russian disinformation. The guy that actually tweeted it has admitted that he got paid by Russia to do so. I mean, But that stuff is sowing distrust in our election system, and I that really bothers me, because if people don't trust that the elections are fair, then you're giving permission to half the country to pretend that the president is illegitimate or the Senate is illegitimate, and I just think that that's a very bad path we're going down. Because Donald Trump took it further than anyone did. But like Democrats said it in 2000, they said it in 2004. Obviously, Donald Trump was going to do it in 2016, and then he won. But then the Democrats claimed that he was illegitimate, and then So basically, every election other than 2008 and 2012, in my adult voting life, significant people in the party have claimed that it was illegitimate or the results were not well to do. That's a real problem. Obviously, Donald Trump, like I said, took it further than anyone else, but that doesn't mean that the Democrats get a pass for when they do it too. All right, Eric, so I'm going to go. I'm going to lay down for a little bit.
Yeah.
In an hour, we have more results.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
So,
they are projecting Bernie Moreno, as the winner in Ohio. NBC just did.
Yeah.
That's big. That's really big.
But I mean, that's your example of where we're not going. I don't really think it's as big because it's consistent with what was going with the president.
No, but it's big because Republicans now, like, if they win Montana too and Ohio, and they don't just have a 52-48 majority. They might end up with a 54 seat majority, which just makes it, the bigger lead you have in a body of Congress, the more stuff you can get done. Now, I mean, depends who the president is. Obviously, it makes a big difference.
And what's going on in the House too.
Yeah, and I've not really paid attention to the House yet, just because there are, obviously a ton of races. So, and plus, I think the House goes whichever way the presidency goes. I think it's just more likely that happens. It happens almost every time. It's very rare that the president doesn't have the House with his party. If Kamala wins and Republicans take the Senate, I think it'll be the first time that the president hasn't had both bodies of Congress and the White House when they get elected in a long time.
You mean they start off with both and eventually?
Yeah, so like Biden started with a Democratic Congress and Trump started with a Republican Congress, and go on and on. I mean, I think that's happened every, 2000 I can't remember the last time it happened. It's been a while. So, but with Republicans winning Ohio, that makes it basically a lock, because they're probably winning Montana too.
So they just called Oregon.
It's too early to call, but if they win Montana and Ohio, and they obviously picked up West Virginia, and it's now Nebraska. But basically, what that does, winning Ohio makes the Nebraska race not matter as much. It's still really interesting to watch, but they only needed to win one more state, and people thought that would be Montana. But if they win Ohio too, now they've got two states in their flavor. And obviously, it didn't. All the talk of Democrats winning the Senate in Florida or Texas were obviously absolutely ridiculous and didn't happen. So Democrats are not flipping any red state blue. It's only Republicans right now flipping red state. Now, Nebraska, even if Dan Osborne wins, he's an independent and he's claimed he will not caucus with the Democrats. We'll see if that happens. But if he really didn't caucus with the Democrats, that really would be it wouldn't matter.
Well, I mean, if you're an independent, you're an independent.
Well, but Bernie Sanders isn't. He caucuses with the Democrats. So did Claire McCaskill, or not Claire McCaskill, Arizona Cinema.
That's another thing. That's a whole other show. But if you're not an independent, or rather, if you're an independent, if you're not a Democrat, if you're not a Republican, then that's it.
Well, but it's not. If you caucus with the Democrats, they'll put you on committees and stuff. If you don't caucus with them, they won't. So that's the kicker. So if you don't caucus with a party, you don't get to do anything other than vote. You don't get to do any of your like committee stuff, because if you're not with a party, they're not going to put you on a committee.
Well,
All right, I'm gonna go.
Well.
I will. I'm sure
Same
we'll text
here.
tomorrow.
Same here.
All right.
Yeah.
Adios.
Fine. All right, buddy. Thanks for joining. Check out Blake at thehomelessconservative.com, and we'll look forward to another episode from him tomorrow. All right, gang. That's it for here. We've lost our terrestrial stations a long time ago, and I'm about to lose myself. I got to walk 2 dogs, get a cocktail, go take a piss, all that stuff. Thanks for joining. Keep watching. I'll put these in the chat here if you want them. This is the one we've been watching from CNN. That is and ABC News. 2 more electoral votes in Maine for Kamala Harris. Sorry, ABC News. Copy, paste. Boom. Who's messaging me? I heard something ding. And Fox. We also, over there, is on the lower monitor. I'll get that somewhere. Is Brian Tyler Cohen. Oh, here's this story that we talked about earlier tonight. My monitor just froze. Why did... Oh, there it goes. Which one did I miss? My computer froze up for a second. CNN. I lost that story. I was going to include the story of we read it to you. There were votes in Wisconsin that were lost or not lost. The machine essentially kind of jammed, and they had to fix it, which means they had to count 30,000 votes again, which they did. It's done. And that's where we're at. So thanks for joining, everybody. I will see you tomorrow at 11, hopefully with good news for whoever that good news is. Till then, you've been Up the Middle.